You said this place couldn't break you. That's what she said. Let's see.
You're so strong. You're so strong. Just no. I know. It's all just a dream.
What if all this was designed just to see how we react?
What if this place is trying to torture me?
What if the people these monsters are killing, what if they're all in on it? What if this is all some kind of fucked up experiment?
What if the answers are out there, maybe we just didn't go out far enough?
I saw it.
What'd you see?
I saw the Lake of Tears. It was a drawing on the wall. There were so many drawings on the wall. Like when I used to draw with crayons. And you'd put it on the fridge. We were all there in the drawings. You and me and Mom and Julie. But somebody screamed because the spider came down from the ceiling.
Oof, ominous indeed. And then the spider came down from the ceiling. Welcome one, welcome all to another very fun edition of the Fromville Hour. One of the most fun aspects that I always like diving into when it comes to From, and that is, of course, the analyzation of Victor's drawings. Which, of course, always tends to be a very, very fun discussion when we dive into Victor's drawings here on the channel. And that is what we are going to do tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you, welcome one, welcome all for joining us. Great to have everybody here this evening. I hope everybody is doing well. And TGIFF, thank God it's Fromville Friday. Fromville Friday is officially here, ladies and gentlemen. And before we get started, we also see Robert Saunders is gifting 5 memberships. Wow, thank you so much, Robert Saunders, for the gift of 5 memberships. Wow, awesome stuff. Looks like Marchin is now a member. H is for Heretic is now a member. Enzo is now a member. Bruna is now a member. And Mac Taylor is also now a member. Welcome one, welcome all. So glad to have each and every one of you here. And thank you so much, Robert Saunders, for kicking it off with a bang for the gift of 5 memberships, my friend. Thank you, thank you. You guys know what that means. That deserves a whoa. Whoa! A whoa indeed. A whoa indeed. And tonight, I have a feeling will be a very fun discussion. Usually, like I said, every time we kind of dive into some of Victor's drawings, we tend to have some pretty fun discussions here on the channel. And these are the kind of topics that, you guys know me, it's perfect for throwing on that tinfoil hat, diving into that rabbit hole, and just having fun with it. If you can't have fun with Victor's drawings on From, then you can't have fun with From at all, I would say. So that's what we are going to do tonight. We are going to have some fun diving into some of Victor's drawings, seeing some crazy tinfoil theories, and of course throughout the night, definitely let us know your tinfoil theories or any theories that you guys want to discuss as we are going through all of these. And yeah, the spider came down from the ceiling, ladies and gentlemen. And I always thought that Ethan dream, the dream vision premonition that Ethan had was going to come back into play at some point in the story, and I do still believe it will. Very interesting description that Ethan gives about the Lake of Tears vision that he has. And we're going to talk about that and much more this evening. But before we do that, we got to go and say what is up to the awesome chat this evening. So let me scroll up here and let us see what is up with the awesome chat. There we go. Here's the awesome chat. Welcome one, welcome all. And again, thank you everybody for joining me this evening. I hope everybody's having a great Friday evening. And hopefully you guys are ready for the weekend. I know I certainly am. It has been a long work week in my day job. So I am very much looking forward to the weekend. Indeed. We got Mole in the house. What is up, the Mole? Good to see you, my friend. I hope everyone is having a good evening. Right back at all of you. I hope everybody is having a good evening this evening as well. We got Wolf Spear in the house. What is up, Wolf Spear? Welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Good to see you. We got Carrie in the house. What is up, Carrie? Hello, beautiful people. Sending love. Well, I am sending love directly back to you, Carrie, and everybody else in the chat. You guys are the absolute best. Absolute best. We got Soph in the house. What is up, Soph? Good to see you as well. Welcome, welcome. We got Kiwi Skirt in the building. Welcome, welcome, Kiwi. Always good to see you. We got Bitey in the house. What is up, Bitey? Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Always good to see you, Bitey. Let's see who else we got. We got Marcin in the house. What is up? Good to see you, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope everybody is ready to dive into some Victor madness this evening and see if we can just decipher some of the chaos that is Victor's drawings. Dream from reality, memory from delusion. It's always fun diving into the psyche of Victor, that's for sure. We got Julie in the house. What is up, Julie Barbara? Good to see you, my friend. Welcome, welcome. And let's see what else we got. Let me scroll down a little bit more. And again, big thank you to everybody for taking the time out and coming and hanging out with us for a little bit this evening. Your time is very much appreciated. And I really cannot wait to hear from all of you and what you guys think about some of these drawings that we're going to take a look at. And we do have the intro drawings to take a look at as well. The drawings on the intro sequence of From have always been so fascinating to me because I do believe a good majority of them either represent things that have already happened on the show or things that will still happen on the show. A lot of these drawings seem to be foreshadowings for certain events, I think. So it's going to be fun diving into this. It's going to be fun. We got Evie in the house. What is up, Evie Love? Hey, Fromily. Here we are again. Let's do this. Hell yes. Let's do this indeed. And I know, right, here we are, just a mere few months away now for From Season 3 to hit our screens. Of course, we do have From Season 3 coming this fall. And I do get the feeling hopefully we can get a late September, early October release date right around there. I'm thinking we'll probably have, that would probably be a good time period to place your bets on. I have to imagine they will want From on screen when Halloween comes around. Just very fitting for the Halloween festivities is From. So yeah, we're getting closer and closer now. Closer and closer to From Season 3. And it is going to be a good one. I think it is going to be a good one. Great intro as always. Well, thank you so much, Kiwi Skirt. Very much appreciate that. I try to find, anytime we're doing a Fromville Hour stream, I try to find some kind of clip from the show that will at least be tangentially connected to what we'll be discussing here on the night. And I thought Ethan's Lake of Tears dream when he sees all of Victor's drawings was perfectly fitting for tonight's discussion. So thank you. Very much appreciate that. We got Bill D in the house. What is up, Bill D? It is good to see you, my friend. And Bill D actually dropped some very interesting Victor drawings in the Discord today. And I went in there and I grabbed a picture of every single one of those drawings, Bill D. And we will pull those up and take a look at those as well. Because it looks like you could have stumbled onto some pretty interesting stuff there. And I always love finding some new stuff. So good eye, Bill D. And we're going to take a look at those. We are going to take a look at those. We got Bruna in the house. What is up, Bruna? Good to see you, my friend. Welcome, welcome. See Scarlet Tabitha. What is up, Scarlett? Good to see you as well. See Susan in the building. Welcome, Susan. Good to see you, my friend. That scene, when I watched on my second viewing, it's wild trying to figure out what that was about. Had to be a premonition. Both Ethan and Elgin had premonitions and seizures when they arrived. Absolutely, indeed. And we talked a little bit about this last week, I believe, or at least touched on it, where it seems like the certain characters that were either passed out or asleep or knocked out or unconscious for whatever reason, it seems like most of those people who were unconscious upon entering into Fromville have had some kind of weird run-in with dreams, premonitions, or something like that. It happened to Tabitha, happened to Ethan, happened to Elgin, as you said. It's definitely and of course Jade. Jade is also was of course passed out when he first entered Fromville. Passed out or high as a kite, one or the two. But we have seen people that have had an altered state of consciousness when they are entering Fromville. They have had some weird run-in with some kind of premonition, it seems. So yeah, it seems to be, I don't know if it's coincidence or if that is a theme developing there, but yeah, if you enter Fromville asleep or passed out, you tend to see some trippy shit. You tend to see some trippy shit. We got Nora in the house. What is up, Nora Nico? Good to see you as well. Welcome, welcome. Let's see what else we got. Let me scroll down a little bit more. If I missed anybody, I am terribly sorry. Sometimes StreamYard jumps on me. I try to get everybody. We got Bill D in the house. I would love to get a full clear copies of all of Victor's drawings in a book. Yes, can print out many from Discord, but many blurry. Hard to get some of the clear ones from video, but many excellent quality. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, some of them, there are some pretty good qualities for some of them, but for some of them, there's just, like you said, they're incredibly small, and anytime you take a screen cap and try and blow them up and clean the image up a little bit, it's just a little hard to see sometimes. Some of them are a little harder to see. We did see this. They did release this a while back during season 2, and it's a collection of all of Victor's drawings in one spot, but they're all incredibly small, as you can see. Here, let me take this down. You guys can see it better. Here we have a complete collecting of just about all of Victor's drawings. I'm sure maybe there'll be a few missing, but for the most part, this looks to be like an almost complete collection of Victor's drawings. But unfortunately, a lot of them are incredibly small. Of course, we can zoom in a little bit here and there, but here we see the Civil War soldiers that Jade and Tabitha were looking at in season 2. The weird claw that is also in Victor's room. Some weird boy in white potentially representations. We got even Victor's gun is up here. Even Victor's gun is up here. So yeah, tons of drawings from Victor. And what exactly do they mean? I know this one was very interesting when I first saw it as well. It seems to be a bunch of different faraway trees in a circle and some sort of weird color wheel assigned to each one of the trees. And I start to wonder, is this potentially some sort of weird map or some kind of method of mapping out the faraway trees' destinations? So much stuff to dive into when it comes to Victor's drawings. It really is a never-ending discussion. You can go in so many different directions. And then, of course, there's the big one, the Lake of Tears. Here we can see it right here. Ethan talks about he saw the Lake of Tears in a drawing on the wall. And here we see what looks to be like an eye with tears falling into a lake. So I wonder, is this the drawing that Ethan potentially could have seen in his vision? Is this a representation of a literal Lake of Tears? A lot of stuff there. A lot of stuff here to dive into. But yeah, love talking about the Victor drawing stuff, and I cannot wait to hear from all of you guys as well. This should be exciting. I am all ears. Well, absolutely. Welcome, welcome. So glad to have you here. So glad to have all of you guys here. We got Leah Bradley in the house as well. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you, Leah. Indeed. And we got a $5 super chat from Dana Marie. Thank you so much, Dana Marie. And again, thank you for inviting me onto your channel the other night. Dana had her very first live stream over on her channel last night. for her birthday bash, and it was a ton of fun hanging out with everybody over there. And I look forward to seeing what Dana, Scarlett, and the rest of the gang get up to over there. So if you guys haven't subbed to Dana, give her a sib. I just wanted to say thanks again, Jeremy, for joining my birthday stream last night, and to everyone who came out and celebrated for my birthday. Well, right back at you again. Thank you for the invitation. It's always fun hanging out with all of you guys. And yeah, happy birthday, Dana. I hope it was a good one. I hope it was a good one. Indeed. Indeed. See what else we got. Let me scroll down here a little bit more. See Xavier Anderson in the house. What is up, Xavier? We got Keys to the Grow Room. What is up, Keys to the Grow Room? Now, I like that name. Gotta have a good grow room every once in a while. And you can't give everybody the keys to it. Let's be honest. Gotta keep the cannabis safe. Gotta keep the cannabis safe. We got Henry Bemis in the house, dropping the link for Dana's channel. Thank you so much, Henry Bemis. Appreciate that, my friend. Appreciate that. Jade was zooted and passed out. Yeah, Jade was the double whammy, I guess. Not only completely high out of his mind, but yeah, passed out as well. So maybe that's why Jade is experiencing all of the weird visions he's experiencing. And the kind of Christopher symbol has honed in on Jade. We got Michael Bancroft in the house. What is up, Michael Bancroft? Always good to see you, my friend. One of the awesome independent comic book creators that I am friends with, and is killing it on his book, The Lucent, and is very much a mystery and suspense type thriller as well. So if there are any comic book fans that like From, you'll probably like Michael Bancroft's comic book, The Lucent, and you can check that out at thelucent.com. It's a really fun book. One of my favorite books in the world, for sure. When is Season 3 dropping? Well, we don't have an exact date for when Season 3 is dropping, unfortunately. Not an exact month, not an exact date yet. All we do know is they did recently come out and drop a Season 3 teaser, and at the end of it, it says, From Season 3 premiering this fall. So it is coming pretty soon, probably just a few more months away. Again, I'm thinking it'll be a late September, early October release date, the latest. Again, I probably think they want From on when Halloween comes around. So yeah, it is coming this fall. We just don't have that exact month and day yet, but it is coming this fall. So just a few more months now. And it has been a long-awaited arrival. Of course, the writers and actors strike affected the production of From Season 3 very much this year, and delayed production for a good almost 6 months before they could actually get to work. But now the strike is over. They're done filming. They just wrapped up filming this past week. I'm sure they'll have a small degree of reshoots that they might need to do next month, but that's usually very minimum on a show like From. And then they will be on to finishing post-production and getting everything wrapped up and out, which means hopefully, fingers crossed, everybody, but hopefully we could get a full Season 3 trailer within the next few weeks or month, the latest. I'm hoping within no more than a month, we will have some more From Season 3 footage to break down. We need a full trailer. As great as that first 30 seconds was, and it was absolutely a perfect 30 seconds for them to release, I know the Fromily is definitely hungering for some more footage, and hopefully we can get some more Season 3 footage. Maybe a full 2-minute trailer, hopefully, within the next few weeks and months, now that they are getting deeper into post-production. We shall see. We shall see. But fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We got Golden Child in the house. What is up, Golden Child? Good to see you, my friend. We got Blue in the building. What is up, Blue? Do you have clear images of Eloise drawings from when they're spread out on the kitchen table? I do have some of them, yes. I have some, and we'll definitely take a look at those as well. Eloise, and I do have one specific one, and you can see a little bit of the differences between Eloise's drawing of the lighthouse and Victor's drawing of the lighthouse. Here's one of them. Here we go. Here we have the two different versions of the lighthouse, and I believe someone was recently bringing up and asking about the differences in color in some of these drawings, where here, of course, it looks like we have the lighthouse and the light being projected up top, similar here. But on one side, we have trees at the base of the lighthouse, and on the other side, it looks like we have almost those same trees, but in a totally different color, which led me to believe, could someone potentially have tried to burn down the surrounding forest near the lighthouse at some given time? It's the exact same color as the light that's being projected up top, and the light that is being projected from up top is coming from an actual flame, not an electrical light. So I wonder if this is meant to indicate in some way, shape, or form that maybe somebody tried to burn down the surrounding forest at one point. Either that or someone just likes yellow trees, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, you see the two clear differences in the lighthouse, and a lot of people saw these two drawings and thought, could there potentially be two totally different lighthouses? As one notoriously seems to have the stone-like exterior, where the other one seems to have a little bit of a different exterior. So some people were wondering if there was two different lighthouses out there. And at this point, I suppose anything is possible when it comes to From. But yeah, we do have some of the Eloise drawings that we can take a look at. We got some Eloise drawings here as well, some interesting ones. So we got a decent amount. I tried to grab as much as I possibly could. Here we have, of course, the depiction of Boyd and the goat, right next to Boyd and the goat, with almost him wearing the exact same shirt. So a lot of these drawings that we are going to see are depictions of things that have either happened on the show already, or I think things that will happen on the show in the future. So yeah, we're going to dive into all of them. We are going to dive into all of them. And there's that spider again. There's that spider again. We got Awesome One in the house. Welcome, welcome, Awesome One. And again, big thank you to everybody for joining us this evening. Let's dive into a little bit of what you guys are theorizing. I think Christopher figured the symbol out and knows how to control the monsters to a certain extent. What do you guys think? That's very interesting, Xavier. And it would kind of fit in some ways, especially, I always go back to that one line we got from Victor's mother when she's running into the root cellar to tell Victor and Eloise to hide. She specifically says, make sure you hide somewhere that Christopher can't find you. Don't hide somewhere where the monsters can't find you. Hide somewhere where Christopher can't find you. And I think a lot of us have thought for a while that Christopher has had some kind of hand in the massacre. He was involved in some way, shape, or form, it seems. And maybe that was it. I know one of the theories was potentially Christopher led the monsters to where all of the survivors' hiding spots were, and that's how the massacre happened. Christopher kind of led the monsters to all the hiding spots. But what if it was a little bit more than that? What if he could actually has some degree of control over them, and he kind of controlled the monsters to slaughter everybody? That's an interesting thought, Xavier. I like that one. I like that one. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. In that drawing, the color wheel is the merry-go-round and the boy in white rode. The merry-go-round surrounded by faraway trees. It's the faraway trees that kind of throw me off. So yeah, I suppose that very well could be the merry-go-round itself. Here, let's see if we can get it closer. Yeah, I mean, it does resemble the merry-go-round, but what's up with the faraway trees around it? I wonder. That's what I want to know. Why are you throwing some faraway trees around a merry-go-round when in the town it doesn't look like there is any faraway trees anywhere near the merry-go-round? But yeah, could be. Very well could be. Good stuff. How come no one has waterboarded Victor by now? Oh, man. Well, I think Jade came, as close as anybody, where he comes up to Victor in the street, grabs him, and he's kind of yelling at him like, don't you want to know? Don't you want to go home? And again, we get that great line that we talked about earlier where Victor says, this is my home. And it's just so profound, and it's a very kind of a deep insight into Victor's psyche as a whole, whereas part of him doesn't really even want to leave. As bad as this place is, it's the only home he's ever known. So, yeah. I don't know. Someone, maybe somebody can waterboard good old Victor and get some answers out of him in season 3. Who knows? It's just so frustrating trying to see as many of Victor's drawings as possible, but the show definitely wants us to be struggling to see them and find clues. They delight in messing with us. I imagine so. I mean, if I was a writer on this show, I would definitely be sprinkling some things in there just purposely to kind of throw the audience off and screw with us a little bit. Little red herring or two every once in a while, make something seem a little bit more important than it is and have it go nowhere. Red herrings are going to be very prevalent in a show like this. A lot of the mysteries will probably lead somewhere, but don't be too surprised if some of the mysteries end up kind of fizzling out and end up becoming red herrings, because I imagine the writers probably they're clever. They're clever, and I'm sure they'll probably sprinkle some of that in there as well. I don't know if that's what Ethan meant. I wonder if he was referring to Victor's room as the Lake of Tears with all the pictures on the walls. Did he say the lake was in a picture? I need to recheck. Yes, he does say I saw the Lake of Tears on a drawing in the wall. But it could very well be referring to Victor's room itself being maybe the pseudo Lake of Tears with all the drawings on all of the walls. No, that's definitely very possible as well, Kiwi. I mean, I think that's very well possible. You can see Eloise drawings mixed in this photo. Yeah, and again, it's kind of hard to tell the difference between Eloise's and Victor's at times. Sometimes depending on what scene you're watching, you can kind of tell which one's Eloise drew and which one's Victor drew. But a lot of them are super similar, so it's really hard to tell in some cases. But some of them you can kind of tell the difference. Here, of course, is the drawing that Victor drew for Julie in season 1, very early on in season 1, episode 4, when Julie's kind of sleeping on the couch and Victor draws her picture of her sleeping. So yeah, we got a lot of Victor drawings to kind of dive into. A lot of interesting stuff. And then of course there is the Victor truck map that we have dove into in the past here on the channel as well. The weird map at the end of Victor's truck out there that he, Boyd, Tabitha, and Elgin were in season 2 when they were hiding from some of the monsters. It's a very interesting kind of map, and it seems to be, on the surface anyway, it seems to be a potential map of the entire town as a whole. We can see Father Cautry's church is on there represented. A few other things are on there that are represented from within the town. So it seems like it's a map of the town itself. But yeah, so many interesting drawings to dive into, guys. Even Ellis's drawing is pretty interesting when you look at it as well. The weird one that Ellis drew of seemingly him and Fatima in the middle, surrounded by just chaosness. We got the town, it seems. We got weird monster claws. We got what looks to be a weird dragon of sorts. I know the lonely dragon, of course, has popped up a lot. The alabaster dragon as well, as Trudy puts it. So many weird Easter eggs that we can dive into. And again, it's always fun kind of talking about these things. So let's continue. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Let me scroll down and try and catch up here a little bit. I bet a lot of the drawings in the background are just random stuff and won't ever come into play, and they're just trolling us, or they didn't expect us to look as closely as we do. Haha. Yeah, I don't think every single drawing is going to be an exact depiction of something on the show. I do think some of them are just for aesthetic purposes, just to kind of give that weird aesthetic of that kind of the red like the red thread connecting all of the weird dots and the weird maps. That's the kind of vibe I get from Victor and all of his drawings when you see them all on the wall. So yeah, I do think some of them, a good decent amount of them, are direct representations of things that happen in the show. But some of them are probably just weird drawings just for aesthetic purposes as well, or to throw us off even. Definitely. Let's see what else we got. I'm convinced Christopher was a bad guy. Yeah, I'm not convinced, excuse me, Christopher was a bad guy yet. We may just not have enough of the story and don't have his side of it. It's possible that he was trying to prevent the massacre but failed. Absolutely. I mean, again, very possible. When it comes to Christopher, there's just so much we still don't know. We have absolutely nothing really to go on other than the smallest of little hints and, good fan theories, really, up until this point. But in terms of actual cold hard facts, we really know next to nothing about Christopher up until this point, other than we know that he was seemingly seeing the exact same symbol that Jade is seeing. We know that much to be a fact. Christopher was drawing the symbol in his notebook, so we know Christopher was seeing the symbol before Jade did. But other than that, we don't really exactly know what happened to Christopher. How did this whole thing end? Did he potentially end up going mad and have a hand in the massacre? Or, like you said, could it be a twist of fate and it's something totally different? Or maybe he was trying to prevent the massacre. Either or could 100% be the case, because there's just still so much we don't know. So yeah, definitely possible. Certainly possible that he could could have been trying to prevent it. Definitely possible. And yes, definitely, Bancroft's making one of the best indie comics out there to date. It really is such a fun read, such a fun mystery read. Let's see what else we got. I agree, Blue. I had a crazy theory that Victor and Eloise were told to hide because Victor's mom witnessed Christopher going through the same process as Julie, Randall, and Mari. Ooh, interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, of course, we saw Julie, Randall, and Mari going through some weird kind of trance coma-like state when they were infected with the weird cicada entities, if that's what you're referring to. Yeah. Yeah, who knows? Maybe Victor's mother, witnessed Christopher having a similar kind of process. Very possible. As much as we discussed these 30 seconds, imagine the pandemonium once they release a full trailer. Absolutely, and that's what I cannot wait for. As fun as these 30 seconds have been, and it has been so fun dissecting the 30 seconds that they have dropped, I cannot wait till we get a full kind of 1.5, 2-minute trailer of all new footage. That is going to be nuts. That is when that's when the From fandom is going to really kind of start to blow up again once we get that full big trailer. But yeah, the 30 seconds we got though were great. It's been really fun diving into that 30 seconds. Again, they did kind of pick the perfect 30 seconds to show us in terms of getting our wheels spinning and getting our theories going. Perfect 30 seconds to release. What's interesting to me is we saw the lighthouse, but we never saw any water. And in the drawing, there's no water either. Is it just a random lighthouse in the woods? And that's one thing I very much wondered as well. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday, and I actually have this clip. I'll play it again for anybody who maybe wasn't here yesterday. But yes, when Tabitha goes to the top of the lighthouse towards the end of season 2, although we don't get an exact full 360-degree view of everything around her, we get pretty close to a 360-degree view. We do see a good amount of the neighboring landscape, and it doesn't look like there is a body of water anywhere in sight. Now, that doesn't mean there couldn't have been one at some point in time, and maybe it's dried up since, or maybe even the lighthouse physically moves. We know we've seen all the similarities between this show and Lost. We have seen that Victor seems to think the trees themselves physically move. So maybe the lighthouse itself has moved from time to time. But yes, if we do look at this clip of Tabitha making it to the top of the lighthouse and we look at all of the surrounding land around her, doesn't look like there's much water around her.
I'm cooling.
I'm sorry. I really am. This is the only way.
Oof, man, poor Tabitha. Poor Tabitha. So again, yeah, as much as we don't get a complete full 360-degree view of all of the land around her, we see a good amount of it. And yeah, it doesn't look like there is any water in sight. So it's very interesting. Yeah, a lighthouse in the woods would make about as much sense as anything else in the show. It really is. It's on par with everything else we see here in From, isn't it? Just a random lighthouse out there in the middle of the forest with no water in sight. It's fitting for From, indeed. It's cool that a lighthouse is significant in the story since lighthouses are focal points. Yeah, I really like the whole mystery of the lighthouse has been a very fun one to kind of try and crack and figure out what exactly is the purpose of this lighthouse. If it's not a lighthouse in the traditional sense and it's not meant to kind of guide ships in at night or to warn ships of a rocky shore, which is usually the functions of lighthouses, if it's not for that, then what exactly is this lighthouse intended for? Is it some sort of power source for something? Is it some sort of portal into the real world? Clearly, Tabitha went out of the window of the lighthouse and ended up seemingly in the real world or some other kind of realm entirely. So is it a doorway? Is it a portal of sorts? Like, what exactly is the main function of this lighthouse? And what else can it do? Like, what is the purpose? Who built it, too? Who exactly built this lighthouse? A lot of questions. So many questions still surrounding that thing. But again, that's what makes this show fun. That is what makes this show fun. Christopher's body hasn't been found, and he just gives off Jim Jonestown Massacre vibes. He does a bit, doesn't he? I mean, although we've only seen him in kind of a handful of scenes, every time we do see Christopher, he's got that super weird, creepy, like serial killer smile on him. You know, like that weird smile that serial killers have. The smile you know to stay the frick away from. Every time we see Christopher, you know, he's holding that freaking notebook up in front of Jade, particularly when Jade is in the bar, when he sees Christopher in the bar. Just the creepiest smile on Christopher's face when he pops up. And yeah, it gives you kind of Jim Jones vibes. He's a weird one. There's a lot of weirdness going on there with Christopher. About the spider, there is a kid's song. Itsy Witsy Spider climbed up the water spout. Yes, down came the rain and washed the poor Itsy Bitsy Spider out. Out came the sunshine and dried up all the rain. So the Itsy Bitsy Spider climbed up again. Indeed, the old and we know the show does like to kind of lean on nursery rhymes every once in a while. And yes, if we do look at the picture of the spider, lo and behold, there is water raining, falling all around the spider. So yeah, you might be onto something there. Maybe there's more of a connection than we thought between that nursery rhyme and the spider. Because as you can see, clearly plenty of water surrounding the spider. So yeah, nice catch. Very nice catch. What does it all mean, I wonder? What does it all mean? I consider that their mom told them to hide from Christopher to protect them, but not in the way we think. Maybe he needed them to prevent the massacre. Maybe Jade will reach the same choice. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, and again, totally plausible. Absolutely plausible. There's still just so much we don't know. I mean, I think us as audience members, knowing that the massacre happened at that same night, and then we hear that line from Victor's mother, from Victor saying that his mother told him to hide somewhere where Christopher couldn't find you. I feel like when we hear those two things, we instantly kind of automatically assume that Christopher did something nefarious and evil. But maybe we're wrong. Maybe that's the wrong way of thinking. And this is From, at the end of the day, this show is going to have tons of twists and turns. And usually things aren't really what they appear at first glance. So yeah, maybe we're looking at it the wrong way. Maybe Christopher isn't the evil mastermind we originally thought. Maybe he was trying to prevent something. That's definitely possible. With a show like From, the destination isn't as important as the journey. Enjoy the mystery while it lasts. And that's so much, like 100% true. And that's exactly how I kind of look at shows like this as well. And even with Game of Thrones, I look back on Game of Thrones, as bad as the final 2 seasons of Game of Thrones were, and the show did kind of go off the rails a little bit in that final season, I still look back on Game of Thrones with immense fondness because, like you said, in some instances, the journey is just better than the destination. So yeah, the journey on a show like this, solving these mysteries, trying to connect all these clues, trying to connect all the dots, that is always going to be the most fun aspect of the show. Once we finally do get answers and we do get into the later seasons and things are starting to get revealed, a little bit of the magic is kind of lost. So yeah, usually, at least for me anyway, these are the most fun times in mystery shows like this, is trying to solve these mysteries, theorizing, meeting up with all of you guys in the chat every week, hearing your thoughts and theories as to where this thing is going, us collectively trying to solve this weird mystery as a whole together. that is usually some of the most fun parts about shows like this. Because, like you said, once you learn all the mystery, once you learn all the answers, a little bit of the magic is gone then. So yeah, the journey is usually just as fun, if not more fun, than the destination. Definitely agree. Here we go round the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. Here we go round the mulberry bush so early in the morning. Yeah, nice, very nice. That reminds me of faraway trees. Yeah, I mean, the faraway trees in and of themselves are a huge, huge question mark. What exactly, who discovered them? Are the faraway trees just naturally occurring, or were they built? Is what I wonder. They seem to be naturally occurring. It seems like they naturally grow that way. When we see the hole inside the faraway trees, it doesn't look like it was carved by anything man-made. They do look like they are kind of naturally occurring. But what exactly are their purpose? I mean, what exactly are these faraway trees at the end of the day? And can they move people through time as well as space? Which I know a lot of you guys have been theorizing for a while, that potentially the faraway trees can move people through time as well. And that's certainly possible. That is certainly possible. Let's see what else we got. Let me scroll down a little bit more. Let me jump down a little bit, see what you guys are saying. What if we are the test subjects? All of us are reacting to the same show and all have different opinions and ideas on what's going on, but not a single person knows if they are right or wrong. It's a very interesting way to look at it, isn't it, Wolfspear? Where we're dissecting the heck out of this show, frame by frame, still by still, shot by shot, trying to figure out as much as we possibly can about the greater mysteries as a whole. But what if, as we think the show is the test subject, yeah, what if we are really the test subjects, the audience? And there's maybe we're the rats in the maze. It's an interesting way to think about it. Very interesting way to think about it, Wolfspear. I like where you're thinking. I like where you're thinking. So weird, beautiful landscapes around that lighthouse, mountains and trees, but no water in sight. Also no water in the scene we saw with Boyd and Sarah, which always bugged me. Yeah, and that was one of the first things I noticed. The very first time we lay eyes on the lighthouse, when Boyd and Sarah first see it in season 1, it looks like it's at the top of a mountain. I mean, it legit looks like it's on the top of a freaking mountain. It doesn't look like there is any water in sight. And then again, when we get an even better look from Tabitha at the end of season 2, it almost confirms that there's pretty much no water around it. So yeah, but I do agree. Great looking landscape and nothing else, for sure. We got Crazy Matt in the house. What is up, Crazy? Good to see you, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see what else we got. Fromville loves to manipulate and play mind games and break the people there, so anyone can possibly be bad if they're manipulated to think they are doing good. Absolutely. I mean, and I feel like Boyd's wife, Abby, is the prime example of that. Boyd called her Iron Abby. She didn't really bend, which is why she ended up breaking here in Fromville. But for all intents and purposes, she seemed to be a very strong military mother. Not a bad person, not an evil or nefarious person by any means. But we saw what happened to her in this place, and that's one thing we hear very early on from Kenny. People that don't learn to bend in this place end up breaking. And I think that's what we had. I think that's what we saw happen with Abby. She just, for whatever reason, she was unable to adjust to life here in Fromville. And even some of the weird lines that she had, where this place reminded her of a dream she had as a child, which was a super sus line that Abby said right before she started kind of going crazy. Yeah, still a lot of questions surrounding exactly what happened to Abby and why. But for the most part, it seems like if people don't adapt to life here, if they don't bend, they end up breaking. They end up breaking. Let's see. I think it's of a flood, then the spider entity will have to show itself. Now, that's certainly a very big possibility. Again, we see all of the water down there connected with the spider drawing. Maybe this could potentially be sign of some sort of flood. I know a lot of people have been thinking that there is some sort of flood that is either going to be coming or some sort of flood that maybe already happened. And we do get a lot of weird drawings. We get that one drawing of Victor, and it looks like there's a family standing on top of the roof, and the water level is coming right up to the roof, indicating an almost flood. So yeah, I totally understand. A lot of people think that there is some kind of flood going to be coming, and again, it's definitely possible. All is possible. Let's see what else we got. Let's see what else we got. Let me scroll down a little bit more. And there's definitely a drawing of someone on a roof. Yeah, on roof with someone with water up to it. Exactly. I do remember seeing that one specifically. I was looking for that one. I couldn't find it before the show. If I find it, I will throw it in the Discord. But I have seen that drawing as well. It looks like there's someone on top of their roof, and the water level is right up to the roof. So maybe that is some kind of indication of a flood of some sorts. Who knows? Who knows? First 5 seasons of Game of Thrones are the best TV ever. They really are. I mean, it does not get much better than, for me, the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones are as perfect as TV could ever get. Season 5 was good too, though. I didn't hate season 5 in any way. If there's a flood, then the lighthouse could be a centerpiece. Absolutely. I mean, if there is some kind of massive flood out there, the lighthouse, maybe that is the purpose for the lighthouse, for whenever a flood comes around, that is kind of go to the high ground. And there's really no higher ground in all of Fromville than the lighthouse. So yeah, who knows? Maybe there's a little something more to the flood theories that everybody has. Could be a fallen tree, especially given the fact that the trees move. Maybe they move on purpose, and that helps trap the selected few regardless of their mode of transportation. Yeah, and that's very interesting. And I know we've talked about it in the past a little bit, but wondered how people have been stuck here previously. Has it always been people arrive here by car? Or is Fromville potentially much, much older than that? And could people potentially have arrived via boat at one point? Especially if we look at the cave drawings. The cave drawings definitely seem to indicate people arriving by boat at some point or another. If we look over here at some of the cave drawings, we see clear boats with people in them, and it looks like they are arriving into Fromville. So yeah, there's some weird stuff going on. I have a feeling people probably didn't always arrive here via car. Maybe they arrived via boat at one point, or maybe even train track at one point. We saw the train tracks in season 1. It seems like they run right into town, right through town. Maybe there's been multiple modes of transportation in From over the years. Certainly possible. Certainly possible. Let's see what else we got. I've been assuming Christopher went crazy and caused people to get murdered by monsters, but if he might have just have gone mad, Fromville is trying to drive Jade insane, but it won't work. Yeah, I mean, and we're seeing the clear parallels between Jade and Christopher at this point, and I think they're going down very similar paths. But I do think Jade's going to solve it. I get the feeling wherever Christopher went wrong in solving the symbol, I do think Jade will be successful, or at least more successful than Christopher was. That's at least my guess. I think Jade will solve the mystery of that symbol eventually. I want to know more about the lake, Brundles. Is that the Lake of Tears? How is Elgin connected to it? I hope his drowning dream wasn't a premonition. Yeah, we do get that weird dream from Elgin in season 2 when he's kind of being held underwater by that weird ghastly-like entity thing, and then he wakes up. Obviously it's a dream, but he wakes up from the dream in his own bed and he spits water out of his mouth. So whatever was happening in his dream affected him in the real world, similar to when the cicada jumped on Kenny's arm in his dream and he woke up with the burn still on his arm. We saw that the entity was capable of interacting with people in their dreams, and sometimes those consequences carried over to the real world. But yeah, what exactly is going on with Elgin in particular? We know that he seemed to have some sort of weird vision upon entering Fromville. And he did see the lake. He specifically talks about seeing the lake, and he specifically asks Fatima about it, and she shows him the Brundles. But what exactly does that mean? What is his connection to the Brundles? And what exactly is the Lake of Tears at the end of the day? I mean, there's still just so many questions. I mean, we see this drawing, and of course, I kind of instantly think maybe this could be Lake of Tears material. It's a literal eye with tears dropping into a body of water. So it definitely gives you that kind of Lake of Tears vibe. But what if that's a little too on the nose and that is just meant to throw us off? So, yeah. What exactly is going on with Elgin's weird vision upon arriving in Fromville, and what does it mean? What is his connection to the Brundles? The Brundles, in and of themselves, are another huge, huge question mark. And I know one of my other co-hosts, Snuggy Jr., has some very interesting theories about the Brundles, and Ravener, actually. Lord Ravener, as well, also has some very interesting theories about the Brundles. And he thinks that the Brundles are just filled with dead bodies down there. And it's a very interesting theory. You have to wonder, where did all of the previous bodies go from not only Victor's massacre, but from the generations that were in Fromville before Victor? Because if we think back to when Victor shows Jade the car junkyard, Victor specifically says that there were cars already here before he started moving cars there. That's why he moved all the cars there, because there was already cars there previously. So that seems to tell us that there were at least previous generations stuck here before Victor got there. But yeah, what exactly happened to all of the bodies and all of the other massacres that have happened in the past? Could they potentially be thrown into the Brundles? Could the Brundles be filled with bodies? It's a very bleak thought, but it's an interesting theory. I like it. But yeah, the Brundles are a huge question mark. And I know my other co-host, Snuggy, since we haven't gotten a really good look at the Brundles and we haven't exactly got to see exactly how big the Brundles are, if you go back to all of the episodes that do show the Brundles, they show very limited shots of it. So we never really get the full sense of just how big this thing is. Is the Brundles just a little secluded pond, or is it more of a lake that could potentially open up to a different, bigger body of water down the way at some point? We haven't seen a full view of the Brundles yet. So yeah, still many question marks surrounding the Brundles and what kind of role they are going to play on the show. But I think they'll play some kind of role. I definitely think they'll play some kind of role. Why does the boy in white look scary in the pictures drawn of him? In the show, he seems good, but not in the pics. Interesting. I mean, and could that be a hint? I mean, a lot of us have been wondering what exactly is up with the boy in white. Is he good? Is he evil? Is he trying to help our survivors? Is he going to kind of, does he have his own agenda? Here we see a weird drawing of him, very simple drawing. He doesn't seem to be smiling or anything, just a weird, creepy boy in white. But even if we look at some of the other ones, and I know some people were specifically pointing out the boy in white drawings that we get in the intro sequence, and how one of them looks to be the boy in white, but he almost looks a little bit older. It almost looks like an older version of the boy in white. I saw a lot of you saying, with of course the weird crow for the lips. But yeah, I mean, could the darker nature of the boy in white's drawings in the drawings, could that potentially be a hint that maybe he's not as malevolent as we originally thought? Maybe the boy in white is a little more nefarious, and maybe these drawings are trying to tell us that. Who knows? Who knows? I think it's possible, though. I mean, there's just so many questions surrounding this boy in white and what exactly his motives are. Is he trying to help? Does he have his own goals that he's trying to achieve? Is he taking orders for someone? Does he answer to someone else, or is he doing everything on his own? So many questions surrounding the boy in white. And if anything, I really hope we learn a little bit more about him in season 3. We did get these pictures of the boy in white in the same hospital that Tabitha ends up waking up in at the end of season 2. Now, of course, these could just be random set photos of the actors just having fun on set, and maybe these pictures don't mean anything narratively at all. Or, who knows, maybe it's a little bit of a hint. Could the boy in white potentially show up and appear to Tabitha in the hospital in some way, shape, or form? It's I don't know. It's I think it could go either way, but the boy in white at this point is incredibly sus, if nothing else. We're not quite sure of his motives. We don't know if he's good or bad. We don't know what he's trying to achieve. And of course, we don't know who he answers to, or if he even answers to anyone. So if we are going to learn any answers in season 3, I hope we start to learn a little bit more about the boy in white. They need to start explaining who the boy in white is a little bit. At some point, we need to get some kind of origin story for the boy in white. How did he end up how he ended up, because it seems like he's not alive but not dead. He doesn't seem to be aging at all. We've seen him have this same form ever since Victor was a child. So the boy in white doesn't seem to age like normal humans. What exactly is the boy in white, and how did he come to be the way that he is? At some point, we need some kind of origin story for the boy in white, and I hope we learn a little bit more about him in season 3, because he's one of the biggest mysteries on the show up until this point. What exactly is this boy in white planning? Who does he work for? Who is he trying to help? It's a big question mark. Very big question mark. Let's see. How many drawings are there? Did anyone count them? If there are 47, I will say, well, that would be pretty interesting. If there was exactly 47 of them, that would be nuts. Now, I have no idea how many there are exactly. I have not tried to count them myself. There's been so many different drawings we've seen over the course of the 2 seasons that would be tough. I mean, we'd have to go back, watch every single episode, and count every drawing by hand. It would be an undertaking, to say the least. But yeah, I'm not sure. I am not sure how many there are. Do you have any close-ups of the newspaper from the intro? They had interesting articles about Abbeville, South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, all right, let's take a look. I do have the drawings, the intros from the drawings. Let's see how clear they are, though. And I do believe one of them is the newspaper one. Here we go, the newspaper one. Yeah, see, it's not very clear. Here we do see the Abbeville up here. But unfortunately, this version isn't too crisp and clear, so it's really kind of hard to read what is going on. F. Smith, Abbeville, South Carolina. It does look like Abbeville, South Carolina. Something, all kinds of rely and fill. It's just hard. It's too hard to read. It's just too blurry. I can't quite make it out. I can, though, go back into the episode and see if I can pull a cleaner shot of this and throw it into the Discord after the stream. Or if anybody else has a cleaner shot, by all means, throw it in the Discord anytime. But yeah, after the stream, I'll try and find a clearer shot of the newspaper. One that's maybe a little more legible. Because, yeah, it's really hard to make out what's going on here. But it always has been interesting, though. Like, is this just a random newspaper, or are there some clues hidden in here that maybe we've been overlooking? So I wouldn't be too surprised if there are some clues hidden in there somewhere. So that's a good thought, Xavier. It's a very good thought. Got Mostly Insane. Hey, guys, welcome, Mostly Insane. Good to see you. We are diving into Victor's drawings this evening, and all things from, of course. As the night progresses, I'm sure we will dive into other topics. But anything from is never off the table. All things from are welcome to be discussed. But yes, we are definitely talking a little bit about the drawings. Right, when I rewatched it, it made sense what happened to Abby. Her nickname was Iron Abby. Boyd was Mr. Fish and Loaves, able to adapt to all kinds of conditions. Iron Abby doesn't bend, so Abby was broken. Exactly. It's kind of their nicknames are kind of perfect allegories for who their characters are narratively. Iron Abby being Iron Abby, and Boyd being Fish and Loaves, able to kind of adapt to almost any situation, which he seemingly has been able to do. Boyd has been very adaptable. Flooding would give a reason for the lighthouse, might be a teleportation. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, if flooding has been occurring here in Fromville over the years, then that definitely could be one explanation for the lighthouse. Indeed. But yeah, teleportation. That's interesting. That is interesting. I also want to know what is up with the dog and why. Why is there more than one and only one scene? Yeah, the dogs are another huge mystery. We do have some drawings of the dogs that Tabitha was looking at the table. Here we go. We got one of the drawings of the dogs here, and we have another drawing of the dog here. And they all seem to be the kind of German Shepherd breed for the most part. But what exactly is up with these dogs? Yeah, it's still incredibly puzzling what these dogs are. And again, I know I've mentioned this in the past, but I do get the sense that maybe the dogs are kind of similar to the boy in white in certain regards, and in just the sense that they don't age, just like the boy in white doesn't age. They seem to be stuck as these kind of weird spirit entity type things, not quite human, not quite alive, but not quite dead. Because obviously these dogs have been here for decades. At the very least, they've been here for decades since Victor was a child. And if they're still around nowadays, 40, 50 plus years later, it stands to reason these are not normal dogs. They are some kind of spirit animal or some kind of weird other being entirely. They're not normal dogs. But what exactly is the purpose for the dogs? Are they harbingers of good? Are they harbingers of evil? Are they meant to help our survivors in some cases, or throw people off in other cases? It's a huge question mark. We have seen the dogs help characters in the past. We have seen the dog help Boyd, kind of tangentially, kind of loosely led Boyd to where the talismans were in season 1. And then after Boyd's run in with Martin in season 2, the dog kind of helps lead Boyd back to town when he's lost. But then, of course, we get that run in between the Matthews family and the dogs seem to be incredibly hostile to Jim and the Matthews family, where it looked like the dogs were getting ready to attack the Matthews family at one point. Where every other instance other than that, the dogs seemed to be helping Boyd. But in that one instance, they were very threatening towards the Matthews family. And if Victor hadn't shot off his gun in that scene, who knows what would have happened there. It looked like those dogs were getting ready to pounce on Jim. Maybe the dogs just don't like Jim. I mean, it has been a theme developing in the From fandom up until this point where Jim isn't the biggest fan favorite. Maybe the dogs just don't like Jim. So, I don't know. I don't know. Many question marks surrounding these weird dogs, for sure. For sure. I think somebody posted that drawing in the Discord of the flood earlier in the week with the person on the roof. Yeah, I've seen it a few times, and it's very interesting. It does seem to look like some kind of weird flood came in, and yeah, you see the picture of the person standing on the roof to get away from the water. Now, is that a picture of an event that happened in the past, or is that the picture of an event that is going to happen in the future? That's one of the things that is becoming the hardest to decipher when it comes to Victor's drawings. Some of his drawings seem to be of actual events that we've already seen happen on the show, but then there's the whole other section of the drawings that we've seen that we're not sure if it's depicting events that happened in the past or if it's depicting events that are going to happen in the future. So the drawings are incredibly kind of fun to dive into and break down. Loving the drawings. Those cave drawing boats could be Vikings. They very well could be. Very well could be. The Vikings traveled heavily by boat in their day. And yeah, I mean, there's still just so much we don't know about this place. And maybe at one point people arrived here via boat, because, yeah, it's definitely some boat action. Definitely got some weird boat action there. 1, 2, 3 boats. 3 people in one, 3 people in the other, 2 in the other. So, yeah, who knows? Maybe it was, maybe this place extends all the way back to Viking days. That's very well possible. And that's another thing in and of itself. We have no idea how old this town is. I mean, when we look, and there's very conflicting reports when we look at some of the evidence, because just on the surface, it looks like this place could be potentially very old. We see some instances of it having ties to the Civil War. We saw the Civil War soldiers. We have seen some Civil War era construction and buildings that probably date back to Civil War era times, like the building that Father Cautry turned into his church. That is an extremely old building by the looks of it, probably at least a century old, maybe more. Colony House looks to be incredibly old. Colony House looks to be a little bit older than a lot of the other houses in town, where it looks to date back to maybe like Victorian era style architecture. Whereas you look at some of the other houses in the town where they look a little bit more modern. And then there's the monsters themselves. We see the monsters, and are their clothes a bigger giveaway than we originally thought? We see just about all of the monsters seem to be dressed in period correct clothing. And for the most part, it seems to be 50s, 60s era style clothing. So yeah, I mean, are all of these hints as to how old the monsters are? And maybe how old the monsters are isn't exactly how old the entire town is as a whole. Maybe this town has been here for a lot longer, and maybe the monsters are only a new addition to the town. It's something we need to consider as well. Because when we look at the monsters and we see that period correct clothing, It's hard to kind of think that maybe these monsters are older than the 50s or 60s just based on how all of them are dressed. So maybe there's some kind of instance where the town has been here longer than the monsters. Maybe the monsters were a recent addition to the town over the last few 50, 60, 70 years, maybe. Who knows? It's just so many questions. But again, that's what makes the show so fun. That's what makes these streams so fun, diving into all of this freaking weirdness that From throws at us. I wonder how the creatures appeared before the 1950s, and I guess that's a possible. If they were here before the 1950s, if we keep going back, and then why keep them that look now? And that's the thing. I mean, just based on the look of them, I get the feeling they didn't look any other way previous to that. I get the feeling this is how they've always looked. And again, part of me thinks that maybe the monsters just weren't in the town for as long as how old the town itself is. Maybe the monsters were a more recent addition to Fromville. We have heard from Martin say that the monsters are only the tip of the spear, which indicates there are other things here that we have yet to be introduced to. So maybe the monsters were a more recent addition to Fromville, and they're not exactly as old as the town is itself. Or as you said, maybe they used to appear different. Who knows? Maybe at one point the monsters had different style clothing on, and maybe they changed. Who knows? I mean, there's just so much we don't know. Looking down in that cave, for instance, we see a lot of very weird stuff. We know that the monsters are down there in the caves during the day. We know they sleep down in the caves during the day. But there's so much other weird stuff down in those caves that we have no answers for. We see a TV down there. We see a dresser down there. We see a little bike down there, a wheelchair. There's so much weird stuff. A suitcase with a wedding dress in it by the looks of it. There's so much weird stuff down there in those caves. So I guess the monsters changing their appearance wouldn't be too outside of the realm of possible. So who knows? Yeah, maybe you're onto something. Maybe you are onto something. If they came by boat, it was probably the squid monster that kept them from leaving by boat. It reminds me of the Lord of the Rings, Watcher in the Water. Yeah, okay, it does kind of. It always kind of reminded me of Cthulhu, personally. Like every time I look at it, I'm a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan. I love the Call of Cthulhu and the entire Cthulhu mythos. So whenever I see this thing, I instantly kind of think of Cthulhu. But it does kind of have that Watcher in the Water kind of Lord of the Rings vibe to it as well. So I see what you mean. I definitely see what you mean. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let me scroll down a little bit more. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Question: how did Victor move the cars when he was just a kid or a teenager? He wouldn't even know how to drive, and most of the cars would have been broken down. I've always wondered that too, Robert. I mean, because yeah, we do hear Victor say that he moved all of those cars when he was a kid, and there's even a behind-the-scenes clip of the actor who plays Victor, Scott McCord, saying that Victor must have been around 10 years old when he moved all of those cars, which is an incredibly impressive feat in and of itself. So yeah, how exactly did Victor move all of those cars by himself? And yeah, I have to. It stands to reason that some of them might have even been broken down. How is that something that he accomplished all on his own? It's weird. I mean, maybe potentially the boy in white helped him. We have heard Victor say in the past that the boy in white did help him survive, or he credits the boy in white with helping him survive when he was on his own for so long. Who knows? I mean, that's a huge head scratcher. How exactly did Victor, a 10-year-old traumatized Victor as that? Not only is he only 10 years old, but this is right after the massacre, right after he lost his mother, right after he failed to keep an eye on his sister and she took off. This is not only a 10-year-old Victor, but this is a 10-year-old very traumatized Victor. So yeah, how exactly did he manage to move all these cars by himself? That's a huge question in and of itself. No clue. No clue. But I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on it. Definitely let me know down in the comments if you guys have any theories as to how Victor moved everything himself. I would love to hear it. Let's see what else we got. The boy in white could be the bad entity, even as a projection, leading them astray to escape himself into the real world. Yeah, it could be. I mean, it certainly could be. There's so much about the boy in white, and in terms of him being some sort of projection, I definitely think that is becoming a little more and more evident. if we look at some of the features of the boy in white, for lack of better terms, every time we've seen the boy in white when he's been away from the lighthouse, he's almost appeared as some kind of weird entity of some sorts, almost not like a ghost-like figure, but certainly not human. We see him appear to Sarah at the end of season 1, and if we notice, when he's communicating with Sarah, he's not physically speaking to her. He's not moving his lips in any way. It's almost like he's telepathically projecting something into Sarah's mind, because he's clearly communicating with Sarah, but he's not moving his lips, and Sarah is understanding him. And then when we see the boy in white at the tower at the end of season 2, he looks totally different. Not only did the actor himself age up a lot in between seasons 1 and 2, but when we see the boy in white talking to Tabitha at the tower, he's physically talking to her. He's not using that weird kind of telepathic projection trick that he used with Sarah. He's physically talking to Tabitha when he's at the tower. And I often wondered, could the boy in white be could the physical form of the boy in white be tethered to the lighthouse in some way, shape, or form? Maybe the boy in white physically can't leave the lighthouse. Maybe he can only project his kind of an astral form of some sort of astral projection. Maybe the boy in white can project himself outside of the lighthouse to communicate with people, influence them in certain ways, but maybe he physically is bound to that lighthouse. I always thought that was an interesting theory. But yeah, so much we don't know about him. We don't know about him. And what is his goal? What is his end game? Does the boy in white ultimately want to escape and go back into the real world? That is certainly a possibility. There's just so much about him we don't know. But yeah, it's fun to dive into it. And yeah, the actors aging up, they need to sort out his story. Absolutely, not only the boy in white, but Ethan as well. And again, I know we've talked about this in the past, but it's one of those things where there's always a little bit of a risk involved when casting child actors in a long-running series. If it's a series that is going to be long-running, that has the potential of being on for 4, 5, 6 seasons, then casting child actors in prominent roles on shows like that always comes with a certain degree of risk, because kids start growing like freaking weeds out of nowhere. If you look at Ethan from season 1, and you look at Ethan from some of the season 3 behind the scenes photos, it looks like he's aged 5 years. Like, he looks like a straight teenager now. And judging by how much time has passed in the actual show, it hasn't been anywhere near that much time. So at some point, yeah, they're going to have to sort that out. They're going to have to dress it in some kind of way. Are we going to get some kind of time jump at some point? Who knows? I mean, I suppose it's something that they don't have to address, but it is something that is going to get more and more noticeable by the general audience. The general audience is going to start to realize, like, holy crap, Ethan looks way older now. Like, what's going on? So yeah, it's one of those things where it's just, there's always a little bit of a degree of risk casting child actors in main roles on long-running series, because you get to the point where they age up, and sometimes you have to recast them. I've seen that happen in many other shows and even movie trilogies, where a child actor will just be growing way faster than anticipated, and they end up recasting the role entirely. So that's always a possibility as well. I hope that doesn't happen. I love this cast. I feel like this cast has been so great so far. I don't want to see anybody get recast, but that is definitely, at least it's always an option on the table, I guess. I think almost everything we see is a misdirect. Boy in white isn't a boy. He/it isn't good just because he's dressed in white. In Victor's memories of the town massacre, he intentionally scowls at Victor. And yeah, I mean, if we look back to that scene in particular, the massacre had just happened. Victor just lost everything. The kid's incredibly traumatized. And the boy in white just starts smiling at him and waving at him and trying to call him over to the freaking merry-go-round. So it's a very weird course of events where, yes, at first glance, you see the boy in white, you see him dressed in white, you see him kind of helping characters in small capacities in certain times. So we instantly kind of think, maybe he's all right, maybe he's trying to help. But then if you take a step back and really start to analyze what exactly the boy in white has done, yeah, the red flags start to pop up a little bit more, that maybe he's a little more sus than we originally thought. But again, I really hope we get some more answers in season 3 about the boy in white. They need to start peeling back some of these mysteries here and there. The first 2 seasons were pretty much all mystery, with very little answers, which is understandable. A show like this is setting up a ton of mystery and a ton of foreshadowing that they're going to pay off in later seasons. So I understand the first 2 seasons being very mystery heavy. But now that we're getting into season 3, we're getting into that territory where they need to start peeling back some of the layers for some of these smaller mysteries, at least. Obviously, the bigger things like what the town really is, why they got brought there, how the monsters were created, what is Fromville entirely, the bigger, big mysteries, those I can totally understand that they will wait until very much later seasons to reveal. But some of the smaller mysteries, some of the smaller things that they have set up, those are the things that you hope they start peeling back some of the layers on when we get into seasons 3 and 4. So hopefully we get some more answers this year. I know that has been a big critique from a lot of the fan base. Coming out of season 2, a lot of people were, or not a lot of people, but I know some people were a little disappointed that they didn't get more answers. So hopefully going into season 3, we start getting into a little bit more of that answer territory. And I think we will. I do think we'll get far more answers in season 3 than we did in 2. I'm sure we'll get some more questions along with them, but I do think we'll get some answers in season 3. They got to throw us something. They can't just be all mystery all the time with no payoff until the very last season. That's not how storytelling is done. There needs to be little payoffs as we go. That's what keeps the audience invested. But yeah, I guess we'll see. Maybe the boy in white is an avatar for whoever is running these experiments. He's a way to communicating or something. Certainly possible. Certainly very possible. And welcome, true DC fan. Good to have you in the chat. Yeah, that's certainly very possible. We have seen the boy in white. He kind of just pops up whenever he wants to, and maybe he's keeping a closer eye on things. Yeah, maybe he is the surveillance. We have wondered what exactly. It seems like the survivors are under some sort of surveillance, whether it's a natural form of surveillance, whether it's electrical, whether it's some kind of supernatural form of surveillance. They are being watched, it seems. And yeah, who knows? Maybe the boy in white himself is doing the watching. Maybe he is, some kind of go-between for whoever's running this experiment. That's definitely possible. That is definitely possible. Because anytime I think about this weird place, I mean, so many theories come to mind. Where is it a simulation? Is it some weird kind of pocket dimension, or is it an experiment? There's just so many different possibilities as to what could be going on here, and we're still so early on the show that none of those theories have been outright debunked. It could still very well be a simulation. It could still very well be an experiment. It could still very well be some kind of weird purgatory-like state. I know a lot of people are thinking that it's some kind of weird in-between purgatory state of affairs, which is certainly possible. It's just still so early that none of these theories have been outright debunked. They're all very much still at play. Let's see what else we are doing. Something is definitely up with Tilly. I'm not sure if she's good or bad, but I kind of feel like she's not human, though, sometimes. Yeah, Tilly, Fanny Pack Granny, as we like to call her here on the channel, she is incredibly sus. And Fanny Pack Granny is always keeping an eye on the chat, guys. So anytime you think of pulling some shenanigans, I promise you, Fanny Pack Granny is there keeping an eye out. But yeah, she was a very interesting character that got introduced into season 2. She kind of got into the town, and she kind of became the town gossip, the town busybody, for lack of a better term, where she kind of popped up all over the place. She's popping up in places that maybe she doesn't really have business popping up in, knowing things that she seemingly really shouldn't know. So they definitely cast a good deal of suspicion onto Tilly's character in season 2. Like, she became very sus at one point, where a lot of people thought, okay, what exactly is up with this lady? So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Tilly's character in season 3. What role is she going to play going forward? And is there a little bit more to her than meets the eye? Is she hiding some kind of dark secret, maybe? She could be. She could be. I'll watch From again once you all watch it on the live chat again. And I bought Lost in DVD and True Blood and The Killing. Ooh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, if you like From, you'll probably really enjoy Lost as well. And anyone else who is a From fan, if you guys are really loving the mystery aspect of From, I would also highly recommend checking out a show called Twin Peaks. It's available on the Paramount Plus app. It's an old show. It came out in the 90s. It's very old, but it's so good. It's by David Lynch, who is one of the just master storytellers of our generation. It's such a good mystery show. It's solving the mystery of a very strange murder, and it also has very weird supernatural elements to it as well. So if you do like From, Twin Peaks has a lot of those same kind of themes woven in and out of it. You guys would really like Twin Peaks if you like From, I think. So if you're looking for a show to dive into while you wait for season 3 of From to come around, definitely check out Twin Peaks. Phenomenal show. Phenomenal show. Let's see what else we got here. Let me scroll down to the bottom a little bit and work my way up. Let's see what you guys are saying. Tilly looks like the grandma monster in episode 1, in my opinion, if you put them side by side. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, could I mean I see what you're saying. There's some similarities. There's definitely some similarities. Here we have Tilly, creepy old Tilly, and here we have the monster version of Granny. So yeah, I could see what you're saying. You know, kind of two creepy old ladies, one monster form, one human. Yeah, is it a coincidence or is there something more there? Who knows? But yeah, it's a little similar, a little bit similar. Let's see what else we got. Tilly is definitely a sus mole. Yeah, Tilly's up to something, man. Tilly is up to something. I don't think the boy in white's appearance is a misdirect. A little boy dressed all in white appears innocent and good, but it doesn't mean he is. His first appearance were creepy as fuck outside of Ethan's window and waving. It was a little bit creepy the first time we did see the boy in white. Yeah, I did. The first time I saw the boy in white when he's waving to Ethan from outside, I got very weird vibes. I got the vibe like this was not a friendly entity. Part of me thought that it was one of those monsters that was just out during the day. At that point, we knew, I mean, this was only during episode 2 at the time. So at that point, we knew absolutely nothing about the show's history and lore and the rules or anything like that. There was so much we didn't really know. So when I first saw that scene for the very first time and we see the boy in white waving to Ethan from outside, I legit thought it was like a child monster that was maybe trying to lure Ethan outside. Because yes, you get very creepy vibes from the boy in white the first time we see him appear to Ethan. He's waving to him through the window. I definitely got creepy vibes from him as well. Yeah, I agree there. Don't trust her. Yeah, don't trust Tilly. Don't trust Tilly, or Fanny Pack Granny, as I like to call her. Yeah, she's up to something. She's who knows what else she's got in that fanny pack too, for starters. She pulled out some morphine in season 2, and it's very funny how she pulls out the morphine right in front of Mari, who just happens to be a drug addict. It's like, how much more on the nose can you get? It's almost like Tilly knew Mari was a drug addict and picked that exact time to reveal her having the goods. So that was super strange. It's and again, you see a lot of these details happening throughout From, and it makes you start to think that the people that get brought here, the people that get trapped here, aren't getting trapped here at random. It's not just randomly pulling random people in here. It seems like it's specifically bringing people here for a reason. Christy gets stuck here. As soon as Christy and Kenny start to get a little bit closer, they start developing a little bit of a potential romance and relationship. As soon as that happens, boom, Christy's fiance shows up and Kenny gets relegated to friend zone. Poor Kenny. And then you see something like this where, now that Mari is here in the town, it just so happens that she's an addict and someone with morphine shows up in the town as well. You see all these little details, and at first they seem like coincidences, but then you think, is it really a coincidence, or are all of these people that are being brought here for a very specific reason? Yeah, I don't know. It's I definitely think there's I don't think it's as random as it appears. The order in which people are dropped off here. I think there's a little more of something to it. Let's see. The circle of stones in the field that Father Cautry visits is interesting as well. There a 7, just like the sacrifice stones. Could it be above them? The hole is covered presently. That's definitely a possibility. I mean, yeah, we see that little peaceful place that Father Cautry likes to go to every once in a while to kind of sit and think. And yes, then we see the 7 Ankui blocks that are down there in the caves. Could one potentially be lined up right beneath the other? It's possible. It's very possible. Another thing I thought when I saw the Ankui children in the weird 7 blocks, it kind of made me think back to the Civil War vision that Jade had. If we remember back to that vision, Jade is standing by the trees, that big tree, and you look up, and Jade looks up in the tree, and there's all of these body parts. There's bodies and body parts hanging from that tree. So part of me started to think, could all of those body parts have been some weird kind of sacrifice that was tied to the Ankui sacrifice, and could that have been happening right beneath them? We do see what looks to be like tree roots that form up that symbol. It looks very strangely like roots. Could that weird tree that had all of the Civil War bodies in it have been directly above the Ankui blocks, the weird Ankui children that were down there in the cave? I often thought that as well, just because, again, it looks like those are clear tree roots that are making up the symbol when Jade sees that vision at the end of season 2. And maybe those trees are directly above it. But who knows? Maybe the blocks are directly above it as well. I suppose either could be possible. There needs to be some revelatory, oh shit moments. And that's what I'm really hoping for in season 3 as well. Like, again, I totally understood there not being any of those big reveal moments in the first 2 seasons. It's very early on. You want to establish all of your mysteries. You want to world build. You want a character develop. That's usually what happens in the first 2 seasons of long-running shows. But once you get into season 3, that's when you need to start thinking a little bit more about advancing the plot and getting some answers. So yeah, I do hope we get at least one oh shit reveal in season 3. At least one. Throw us a bone. Throw us a bone. If the talismans in that stone hut Boyd found were there for a purpose, did he mess something up or let something loose by removing them? That's a very interesting thought as well. I mean, that thing was loaded with talismans. I believe all 12 or 13 talismans that Boyd found, he finds all from that hut. And yeah, why exactly were those talismans there? If from what we've seen anyway, you only need one talisman to protect a structure, whether it's a house, whether it's the car, a tent. You seem to only need one talisman to protect it. So why was that place jam-packed with a bunch of talismans? Was it potentially keeping something trapped at bay? That's very well possible. I like that. I like that theory. Yeah, why exactly were all of those talismans stuffed into that wall? Was that weird stone hut some kind of cell, some kind of prison, for lack of a better term? It could have been. It very well could have been. I always thought it was very weird that there were all of these talismans there when everywhere else we see you really only need one to protect something. So why does that place have all of these talismans in one spot? Or was that simply just a spot to kind of hide the talismans? I don't know. So many questions around those talismans. And who created them? Who carved the talismans in the first place? Who was the one who came up with the talismans? Who knew that carving this weird symbol on a rock would turn it into a talisman that keeps monsters out? Like, who created them to begin with? Again, so many freaking questions we still have and very little answers. But again, it is fun to dive into all of it with all of you. That's for sure. It is fun to dive into it. Curious to see if season 3 brings in new characters and what they'll bring to the show. I've wondered that as well too, and I feel like this is one thing that the writers set up rather geniusly on the show, in terms of they can really add new characters to the show anytime they want, simply by the very convenient plot device of just having another vehicle show up in Fromville. It's really that simple. They can add new characters onto the show at the drop of a dime if they want to. All they really need is to have a new vehicle show up, and boom, you have new characters. So I did wonder that as well. Like, will we be getting some new characters arriving in the town in season three? And I have to imagine we will be. I mean, it seems like that is one of the reoccurring themes on the show, that cars genuinely get stuck here every once in a while. So I imagine we'll get some new arrivals. If not in season three, definitely in season four. I have to imagine there we will continue to see new people get stuck here in the town. I think so. I believe as wildlife is fighting back against humanity, trees control the portals, cicadas feed on older trees, monsters resemble petrified wood, and trees are moving. Monsters sleep near roots. I mean, that's a very interesting theory as well. Like, maybe like nature itself is kind of rebelling against the humans, and it's kind of one coordinated effort. That's certainly very possible. It kind of reminds me of The Happening, that weird M. Night Shyamalan movie where all of a sudden the flowers and the nature physically started to turn on humanity and release pheromones that started making people kill themselves. Could we see something potentially happen here in Fromville where the land itself is turning on them? And we have seen in the past that this place, this land, Fromville, whatever it is, it does seem to have some sort of consciousness, for lack of a better term. It can seemingly get angry. We hear that theory from Sarah's brother Nathan in season one, that he believed if people try to escape too much, if people try to push too hard, something will quote unquote push back. And obviously, that seems to be what happened at the end of season one, when whatever is in control of this place sent a very nasty storm to the town of Fromville. And that almost felt like it was some sort of consequence of them meddling in things that maybe they shouldn't have been meddling in, whether it's Boyd and Sarah out there in the woods trying to find answers, or whether it's Jade and Jim in the town building the radio tower. It seems like if you push too hard, something will push back, and there will be consequences to that pushback, whether it's the storm, whether it's in season three, now we seemingly have some sort of winter that is moving in. It seems like there are actual physical consequences to doing certain things in this place. So, yeah, maybe the land itself, the wildlife, maybe it's physically fighting back in certain cases. I like that. I like that. It's a good theory. That is a good theory. The boy in white needs Ethan to do his bidding like he used Victor in the past. And maybe that's possible. Maybe there's certain things that the boy in white just physically can't do. We have no idea what kind of rules are happening here. And that's one thing I love about From, is trying to decipher what are the rules of this place. And that's why I really like the conversation that we get between Jade and Tom in season two, when the dead bartender Tom appears to Jade and gives him some sage advice. And that's one of the things Jade says to Tom is, nothing makes sense here in this place. And Tom says, no, it's not that it doesn't make sense, it's that it's not familiar. And there's a very big distinction between something not making sense and something not being familiar. Obviously, nothing in this place makes sense because we just don't understand the natural order of how things work in this place. But once you do start to understand that natural order, you can start to predict events a little bit more accurately. But where Jade is at this point in time, he just sees a bunch of stuff that just doesn't make sense to him because he just doesn't understand the natural order to this place. So there's a very big distinction there, I thought, anyway. But yeah, who knows? Maybe you're onto something, Quan. Maybe the boy in white is using Ethan just like he used Victor for his own ends. Very possible. A dark truth. Ask yourself, do I want to go home? After a year of From, what would you tell everyone when you came back? Living in silence is kind of suicide. I think that is no going back, like Lost. Interesting. Yeah, if you were stuck in the town of Fromville for a long duration of time, a year or whatever the case may be, and you do eventually end up coming home, what do you tell people? I mean, you're going to tell people the truth? You're going to tell people like, hey, I was stuck in some weird mystical town with no hopes of escape that had weird monsters that came out at night that tried to kill us if we didn't have a magic rock hung up in our window. It's one of those things that's going to be a little hard to explain to anybody who hasn't been in the town. And yeah, very similar to Lost in that regard, where when right when we get to around the end of season 4 of Lost, when a few of our survivors do actually make it off the island, they have to lie. They have to lie about everything they went through to not only protect everybody that they left back on the island, but who the hell is going to believe them? Who's going to believe them about smoke monsters and all the weird shit that they ran into? So yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, if people do make it out, like Tabitha is obviously going to be in this situation right now. If Tabitha is indeed in the real world, which I do think she is, I do think Tabitha is in the real world. I don't think she's in some kind of level 2 of Fromville. I feel like, especially after seeing some of these season 3 set photos of Tabitha out there in the street filming scenes in a car, I'm starting to think more and more that Tabitha is in the real world. She's not in some kind of second Fromville place, although she could be. I mean, it's definitely still possible, but I think she's in the real world. And if she is, could she potentially be going down something similar to this? Like, how exactly is she going to explain where she's been? How exactly is she going to explain that her family got left there? Even she doesn't seem to know how she ended up back in the real world. She fell out of a freaking tower. Next thing she knows, she wakes up in a hospital bed with the doctor telling her that hikers found her on the side of a trail. So even Tabitha doesn't really exactly know how she ended up where she ended up. So how do you go about telling anybody about that? How do you tell the authorities, hey, I've been stuck in this mystical hell where monsters come out and kill you at night? It's one of those things where I imagine she probably has to lie. Second season trailer looked really scary. Third season trailer looks more mysterious action. Yeah, I definitely get that as well. Like this season 3, it was kind of like this little teaser that we got. It was like all mystery. It was like pure mystery. And again, I do think that's why it was a pretty clever 30 seconds for them to choose to release to the public. In terms of releasing the perfect 30 seconds that's going to get all of our wheels spinning and get the theories going, this was the perfect 30 seconds to release. And hopefully when we get a full season 3 trailer, maybe that trailer will have a little bit more of that fear aspect to it, hopefully like the season 2 one did. Because at the end of the day, the show I really hope that the show never loses its fear aspect. That is one of the things that made, in my opinion, season 1 so much better than season 2, was that fear factor that the monsters brought with them. Which was kind of missing towards the second half of season 2, which was understandable. Once you get to the second half of season 2, the weird cicada entity seemed to be the kind of main villain of that season, and the monsters started to take a little bit of a backseat. But hopefully with season 3 coming back around, I hope that we get to see the monsters come back into full stage. Because I always want the monsters to be a very clear and present danger to everybody in the town. You never want the monsters to turn into the walkers on The Walking Dead, where at one point they're pretty much just a background fixture and they're not even a threat. Hopefully the monsters always remain a very clear and present danger, because it ups that fear factor, and that fear factor is what makes From so great. I love season 2. I think season 2 did so many awesome things where From is concerned. But when I look back, season 1 is far superior in terms of storytelling and that fear aspect. Season 1 has that in spades. So I hope season 3 kind of returns to that form, where we definitely kind of play up that fear factor a little bit more. Make sure these monsters remain incredibly scary. That's my hope, anyway. Just my hope. Usually when a character dies, a new one enters. Colony House Massacre brought in a bus, it seems. Yeah, and that's been very weird as well. I mean, we seem to have this weird theme where someone or something dies in the town and something comes in to replace it. Even before the Colony House Massacre, we have young Megan, which we thought was pretty much the only child in the town. We have young Megan and her mother. And as soon as young Megan and her mother die, boom, the Matthews family shows up. And all of a sudden, we have another kid in the town. And it's very weird how we don't see it. It seems like there's only one kid in the town at any given point. I don't remember seeing any other kids in the town other than Ethan and Megan. and Megan and Ethan didn't even show up until Megan died. So yes, we see Megan and her mother die very early on in the first episode, and then boom, the Matthews family shows up. Then halfway through season 1, like you said, we get the Colony House massacre, and then boom, a bus full of people arrive at the end of season 2, almost like it's constantly replenishing its ranks. And yeah, is there something to that? Does there always need to be a certain number of people in Fromville at any given time? Like, does there need to be a steady kind of influx of new people coming in anytime someone dies? I mean, there's certainly evidence suggesting it. Because, like you said, almost every time we lose someone, someone else shows up. So I guess we'll see if that theme continues. I would love to see a scene of Victor when another person finally arrives and how that goes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Victor had a very interesting reaction to the Matthews family and Jade arriving, and Victor definitely seemed to think that it was a bad omen of sorts, where he talks about the last time 2 cars arrived at once, it was special. That 2 cars arriving at the same time means something special. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Victor reacts if new arrivals do come. Indeed. Indeed. Let's see what else we got here. There was an unsettling stinger in the score when the boy in white is first shown out in the window, but Victor seems to trust him, so I went with that. But then again, Victor has the mentality of a naive kid. Very true. I mean, yeah, we see Victor is trusting this kid. Victor looks at the boy in white as a friend, as an ally, someone that helped him as a kid. So yeah, we see all of that surrounding evidence, and we see this seemingly young boy dressed in white, and we start to think, okay, maybe he's there to help. But then once you start looking a little bit closer and you start breaking down some of these details, a lot more red flags start to pop up with the boy in white, that maybe he's not as innocent as we think. And like you said, Victor he does have the mentality of a kind of naive kid still to this day. So yeah, I see that. I can definitely see that. I do believe he refills when the number drops below a certain number, so that could be 37. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, we see the 3s, the 7s, the 4s, the 7s all over the place and from. A lot of direct references to tons of 4s and 3s and, of course, 7s. So yeah, maybe there's a certain number of people that always need to be in the town at any given point, and if that number gets a little too low, we get some new arrivals. Because yeah, it is an awful weird coincidence that almost every time we lose someone, someone else arrives in the town, whether it's the Matthews family arriving, the bus arriving after the Colony House massacre. It seems like we always get new arrivals after something like that happens. So yeah, maybe there's something to that. Maybe there is something to that. In my opinion, the boy in white was saved, whereas the ghoulish children weren't. Ooh, okay, interesting. And I've always wondered that as well, too. Like, could the boy in white potentially be a similar version of the Ankui children? But maybe, like you said, maybe the boy in white was rescued before whatever weird experiment happened to them happened. Because they're dressed in very similar clothing as well. The boy in white is dressed in all in white, and we look at all of the Ankui children, they're pretty much all dressed in all white as well. So yeah, was the boy in white potentially one of the Ankui children that escaped or got rescued, maybe? I mean, I suppose anything's possible. I suppose it's possible. Is from a creature feeding. Maybe there is a cult for this creature, and the hospital is linked to this cult. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, in terms of like the From creatures, I always wondered, like, how exactly do they sustain themselves? Do they actually need to eat body parts, or are they just ripping people apart? We never actually see them eating, even in season 1 when Jasmine gets into Colony House and convinces that dingbat to open the window. She bites the guy's tongue off, and she immediately spits the tongue out. So I get the feeling they're not exactly eating people. It seems like they're just clawing them up and filleting them. But yeah, what exactly sustains the monsters, or do they not even need any sustenance up until that point? I don't know. The Russian doll concept could explain why Martin is in a different layer, so to speak. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, Martin again is another huge freaking question mark. Like, what the heck is going on with Martin? Who was Martin? How did he get there? That was one of the biggest questions I've been asking myself is if this entity was indeed trapped before Boyd came along and freed it, and it seems like that was the case. It seems like this entity needed Boyd to free it and for Boyd to bring it back into the town so it could start wreaking havoc. But if all of that is the case, who originally trapped the entity? Who originally put the entity in Martin, and who originally trapped Martin in that dungeon? Is what I want to find out. Because again, we hear him talk about the whole tip of the spear, that the monsters are only the tip of the spear, which indicates there are other monsters here or there are other factions here that haven't been introduced to us yet. Obviously, the voice on the other end of the radio comes to mind when I think about other potential people being in Fromville that haven't been revealed yet. The puppet masters, so to speak. But yeah, if all of that is true, if Martin was indeed infected with this cicada entity and it did need Boyd to come along and free it, who exactly originally trapped this cicada entity in that dungeon is what I want to know. How did it originally get trapped and who trapped it? Interesting point about the trees. The symbols being shown made from roots might have a significance. The Civil War soldier vision was one of the most random, unexplained things we've seen. Yeah, it is very unexplained, and we haven't seen a whole lot of other stuff that potentially could connect to that Civil War scene, other than that one drawing that we see of the Civil War soldiers. We haven't really seen much connection back to that event, and maybe that's one of the connections. Maybe it's something that will be revealed in season 3 or in later seasons, that maybe whatever was happening to those Ankui children on those 7 blocks, maybe directly above that was that weird tree with all the body parts where the Civil War soldier was. I mean, it's just a hunch. It's just a hunch. I mean, could be completely off, but who knows? Who knows? I keep thinking that the Ankui children are kids born in Fromville, kept in cages and used as batteries of some sort until they turn into Smiley and Co monsters. Ooh, interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, if we look at where the Ankui children were kept. If you see this photo, yes, it does indeed look like there are literal cages. We look in the background here on this photo, and obviously we see all the blocks. But if you look in the back, you see 2 different cages, and it almost looks like tiny cells that maybe the Ankui children were kept in. Because yeah, again, I mean that very much clearly looks like cells back there in the background, some kind of weird makeshift bars keeping something in. So yeah, that's very possible. I mean, yeah, you could be on something there. Maybe the Ankui children are being held against their will in those caves and are being utilized in some manner as batteries or maybe something else. It's definitely possible. Because yeah, I always thought those cages were a little weird and very telling as to what exactly these Ankui children were and if they're being held captive by somebody else. And it looks like they were being held captive at some point. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Boy in White is definitely connected with the ghoulish kids, but he was saved. There were drawings of sad kids, yet one that was happy. Ooh, that could be it right there, Purple Alizé. Yeah, you could be onto something there. Maybe the Boy in White was meant to be another one of the Ankui children, but he was rescued before whatever happened to him happened. I can definitely see that happening. Hell yeah. And again, it would fit because if you look at the Boy in White, he's dressed in a very similar clothing that the Ankui children were dressed in as well. So, yeah, it's very possible. Very, very possible. I think Smiley and Co. Type monsters get their clothes from suitcases of people trapped in Fromville. Ooh, interesting. So like maybe the monsters are physically maybe changing their clothes. If that is the case, then it opens up a whole other world of possibilities, and that really makes you think that this place is potentially much older than we originally thought. If the monsters are indeed out there stealing clothes of the survivors and changing. because like you mentioned, Leah, we do see that briefcase down there in the caves. When Tabitha and Victor are in those caves at the beginning of season 2, they stumble upon all manner of weird stuff, from dressers to TVs and wheelchairs and little bikes, and of course the suitcase with the wedding dress in it. So yeah, maybe they change. Maybe they change their clothes. I mean, weirder things have happened on Fromville, I guess. Weirder things have happened. Let's see what else we got. If they sealed off the cave and put talismans inside, could they trap the monsters inside? Interesting. We were shown the opening to the cave, but it was treated as an afterthought. Only Jade took interest in it. Yeah, I mean, I have to imagine there's probably multiple entrances and exits to those caves. I get the feeling there's probably not just one. It seems like that is a very big and vast network of underground caves that goes throughout almost all of the town and maybe even beyond the town. Like, we still don't exactly know the extent of the underground caves. Are they limited to just under the town, or do they extend far beyond the town as well? That's one thing we just don't know. I get the feeling they extend a little bit beyond the town. I don't think the caves are just designated to under the town alone. And I get the feeling there's probably multiple entrances and exits. So if that is the case, if they did want to trap them in there, if that was even possible, they would have to hunt down every single exit. Because again, I get the feeling there's probably multiple entrances and exits to those caves that they haven't found yet. But no, I've also thought in the past if it would be possible for the survivors to potentially trap a monster using the talismans. We have seen that the talismans can be used to keep things out, keep monsters out. Could the talismans potentially be used to keep something in? And I think something like that could be possible, but I think you would need multiple talismans in order to do that. Like maybe multiple talismans on each wall to potentially create that barrier effect to keep something in that would normally keep something out. Maybe it's possible. Maybe it's possible to trap something with these talismans as much as keep something out. It's possible. I definitely think it's possible. I actually even did a video on that during season 2. If anyone goes back to some of my older From videos during season 2, I actually did a tinfoil theory laying out a possibility that they could potentially use the talismans to trap a monster instead of just keeping them outside of a house. So it's definitely something I've thought about in the past, and it's an interesting theory. It's a very interesting theory. I think the monsters are created from the chained chamber because a drawing shows the chained figure in the door as the monster attacks the girl, and 2 windows with monsters in them, posted in Discord today. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. I think the monsters are created from the chained chamber. Huh. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, there's some, and I do believe, I might be wrong, but I do believe we heard from one of the writers and showrunners that they have mentioned we will find out the origins of the monsters at some point. I don't know what season it'll come in. It might not be in season 3, but I do vaguely remember reading something about one of the writers saying that we will eventually get the origin of the monsters. And that is going to be a big reveal. I think that's going to be one of those bigger reveals that they probably save for later seasons. But yeah, how exactly did these monsters come into be? And were they human at one point? And again, from some of the evidence we get in season 2, from the autopsy that Christy does on Smiley, she, at the very least, seems to think that these things were human at one point. They have all human organs and all of that. So if these things were human at one point, what transformation did they undergo to make them monsters? And yeah, maybe the chain chamber is, maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's part of it. I cannot wait to find out what these monsters really are and how they're created. I think that's going to be a very big oh shit moment when that's revealed. But I would love to get some of your guys' theories on that in the chat. How exactly do you think these monsters were created? And do you guys think these monsters were human at one point? We do get that line from Christy in season 2 where she seemingly thinks that they were human at one point based on their organs, but we really don't know. But yeah, I'd love to see what you guys have for theories on that. How exactly do you guys think the monsters were created, and do you think they were human at one point? Let me know what you guys think below. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Yeah, that weird kid kind of messes with my mind. Yeah, he's super creepy, isn't he? Like the weird boy in white. He's a big question mark wrapped inside an enigma. The dude is just very mind-boggling. It's strange though that the boy in white hasn't appeared to Ethan more. Feels like he just left him hanging. Yeah, that is a little bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, at first the boy in white was appearing to Ethan, and nothing since. I mean, I don't think Ethan has seen the boy in white since episode 4. In episode 4 of season 1, when Victor takes Ethan out into the woods and first shows him the faraway tree, I believe that's the last time Ethan has seen the boy in white with his own eyes. I don't believe Ethan and the boy in white have any other interaction after that. So yeah, he kind of just left him hanging after that whole setup in that second episode. The boy in white kind of just left Ethan hanging at that point. So that's a good point. Will the boy in white and Ethan have more scenes in the future, I wonder? Hopefully. Hopefully. Nature itself does seem to be turning on them. The storm, then Donna said it seemed like the soil was poisoned and nothing would grow. The leaves changed. Now they'll have winter and snow. Yeah, it definitely seems like this place is, like you said, like it's almost kind of turning on them, for lack of a better term. And Fromville itself, the town itself, seems to be in some kind of state of change, a state of change that it hasn't been in, at least for the entire time Victor has been there. Victor's been there for what, 40, 50 years, and the entire time he's been there, he says that nothing ever changes there. Not the weather, not the trees, nothing ever changes. But now, all of a sudden, right after the 2 cars arrive, which Victor did think 2 cars arriving at the same time was a sign that something was starting. Maybe he was right. Maybe this was what was starting, that the town was going into some sort of state of change where we have a winter coming in for the first time. We got leaves falling off the trees. It's getting colder. Like you said, the soil is seemingly poisoned and they can't grow anything now. It seems like Fromville as a whole is in some kind of state of change, and maybe the 2 cars arriving at once is what Victor was referring to when he said this was the start of something. Maybe. Father Cautry's coming back season 3 to tell Boyd to keep his fucking mouth shut. Yes. And I mean, at this point, it's almost not guaranteed, but it's almost guaranteed that Father Cautry will be back in season 3. And I also did a video on this a few weeks ago. If you guys haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out after the stream. But long story short, there is a certain season 3 set photo that was leaked. Not leaked. There was a season 3 set photo that was posted on Instagram by the actor who plays Father Cautry. And it is him and Boyd taking a picture on the set of From. And we can see Father Cautry does indeed have his collar on. So that led me to believe that he is probably on set filming some scenes for season 3. It's probably just a quick cameo. But at this point, I do think we will see Father Cautry in season 3. And I also think we will see Tom the bartender in season 3 as well. If anyone was in our stream either yesterday or last week, or when I brought it up, the actor who plays Tom the bartender recently posted something on Twitter saying that he loves, saying that filming up in Canada is the most beautiful place. And he tagged a few production companies, specifically production companies that work on From. And if Tom the bartender is up there in Canada filming scenes, right at the same time From is filming scenes, it stands to reason we are going to get a Tom cameo in season 3 as well. And I even asked him as much, and he had a very interesting response. Obviously he couldn't confirm or deny, obviously. But yeah, I do think we are going to get both Father Cautry and Tom in season 3, excuse me. I think we will see both of them. They will both be there. Let's see what else we got. I believe a couple things are most likely, but cannot discount anything. Yeah, and that's the thing. So many things obviously a lot of the theories that we end up coming up with are most likely going to turn out to not be true. But some of them will end up being true. But up until this point, yeah, there's really not a whole lot that we can just outright discount and discredit because so much is just unproven up until this point. So a lot of these theories, even the wilder theories, are still kind of in play. Until things just get outright debunked, anything's possible. Anything is possible. Let's see what else we got. Let's see what else we got. Perfect 30 seconds to release and possibly is not what we think is going on. Absolutely. I mean, and they usually tend to really put together the perfect 30 seconds in the perfect order to really throw us off. And a lot of the scenes that we get in that 30-second clip are not happening in sequential order, obviously. It seems like these scenes are very much mashed up. But yeah, the perfect 30 seconds to release to us to kind of get all of our wheels spinning and get all the theories starting again. So definitely a good 30 seconds. Those could be from any parts in season 3 too, so who knows when we will get them and in what order. Exactly. I mean, a lot of people saw some of those scenes, and I think a lot of people thought that that is going to happen in episode 1, but I don't think that's the case. Usually when it comes to trailers and teasers, yes, they throw aspects from multiple different episodes in, some from early episodes, some from later episodes. But yeah, I get the feeling the 30 seconds that we got, I don't think that's coming in episode 1. I get the feeling that's probably going to be happening a little bit into the season, but that's just my guess. Just a guess. I believe Tabitha is in the real world too, and no one will believe her, but it's possible they're lying to her. She wasn't really found by hikers, and the hospital is on some conspiracy. Absolutely, it's very, very possible. I mean, at this point, Tabitha only really has the word of the doctor that came into her room stating that, yes, hikers found you on the side of a road, on the side of a trail. But who knows if that's really true? Like you said, they could be lying to her, and maybe the hospital and the doctor and everybody is in on some kind of weird conspiracy. That is definitely possible. Maybe we are going to get the Tabitha Truman show in season 3. It's all one big setup. The main reason I don't think Tabitha is out is because then that is a huge clue that you just gotta die to get out of the show. That would be all there is to it. Nothing to fear. Just gotta die to leave. Well, if Tabitha is in the real world, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to die to escape. We don't know what happened to Tabitha. All we see is her go out of that window. She could have fallen through some kind of weird portal. She might not technically be dead to escape. So just because Tabitha is in the real world, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to die in order to leave. We really don't know what happened to Tabitha. We have no idea how she ended up where she ended up. I know some people seem to think that maybe her body is down there at the bottom of the lighthouse, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think we will see a Tabitha body at the bottom of the lighthouse and her out in whatever world she's in. I do think something stranger happened to her. She fell through some kind of weird doorway, some kind of weird portal. Something very strange happened to her when she went out of that window. But no, I don't think it's as simple as you have to die in Fromville to wake up in the real world. I don't think that's the case. Could be. I mean, it could be. There's definitely setup in foreshadowing from that, from what happened with Abby in season 1. Abby was convinced that people had to die in Fromville in order to wake up in the real world. But I don't think that's what happened with Abby. I mean, I don't think that's what happened with Tabitha. I think something different happened. I think she potentially fell through some sort of portal or something else happened to her. But I do think she is in the real world. But who knows? She could not be. She could potentially be in some weird second part of Fromville as well. That's definitely possible too. That is definitely possible too. I thought in season 2 they didn't have enough of a reaction to the fact that the radio project didn't work. Donna was so afraid it would break these people, but it was as if they forgot all about it, and that was one of our biggest, like, not gripes, but that was one of the things that we noticed very, very much in season 2 as well. I think when we were coming into season 2, there are a few things that a lot of us were hoping season 2 would touch on. For me, two of the two biggest things I was hoping to get answered in season 2, or at least not answered, at least get a little bit more information on it if they don't flat out answer all of it. And that is one, what exactly was dragging the tent at the end of season 1? Obviously, Boyd and Sarah are in that tent. Something drags them to Lord only knows where. They wake up the next morning and they just so happen to be much closer to the lighthouse now. So I wanted to know, A, what was dragging Sarah and Boyd's tent and why? Whatever was dragging that tent, was it trying to harm them and throw them off course? Or what was potentially dragging the tent trying to help them? Maybe whatever dragged the tent was trying to get them closer to the lighthouse, because it was very odd that whatever dragged them, wherever they ended up, they were all of a sudden much closer to the lighthouse. They were close enough that the light from the lighthouse was hitting the tent. So whatever dragged that tent might not have been trying to harm them. It might have been trying to help them get closer to the lighthouse, I'm thinking. So I was really hoping we got a little bit more on that. And of course, the other one being the radio, and what was on the other end of the radio at the end of season 1. And yeah, season 2 comes around, and season 2 barely touches on either of these things. We don't hear anything about the tent. Boyd and Sarah haven't even mentioned the tent incident to anybody. I don't know if we'll ever get an answer for that. If we maybe in some flashback and at some point, but at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they never go back to that. And then, of course, the radio. I mean, hearing that voice on the other end of the radio was a huge, huge cliffhanger at the end of season 1. You would hope that season 2 would have, dived into that storyline a little bit more and explored it a little bit more. But yeah, we get absolutely nothing. We get one line between Jim and Donna later on in season 2, where Jim brings up the radio to Donna, telling her, you were with me, you heard the voice on the other end of the radio. And Donna instantly just shuts it down. And I think that in and of itself started to paint Donna in a little bit of a suspicious light. A lot of people started to think Donna might be a little sus right after that scene. Because yeah, I mean, you would think if there's anything that you guys would be focusing on, you would think it would be that. They've been stuck in this place, whatever this place is, they've been stuck there for years. And this is the closest they've ever come to getting real answers. I mean, they built a freaking radio and they got in touch with somebody. You would think that would give the entire town some measure of hope that they could potentially escape at one point. But for some reason, they don't share any of that information with the rest of the town. Nobody in the town other than Jim and Donna even know about the voice. So that was one thing I was really bummed about in season 2, was the lack of sharing of information. Jim and Donna didn't tell anybody about the voice. It seems like they are the only two that even know about the voice at this point. Boyd comes back to town and he doesn't want to tell anybody what happened to him with Martin and the weird worms and all of that. Tabitha and Victor come back to the town. They find out that the monsters are sleeping right beneath them in this vast underground tunnel, and none of this information gets shared between the townsfolk. So that was one thing that was a little bit of a frustration for a lot of people in season 2, was the lack of sharing of information. So hopefully we don't get more of that. But yeah, they got to explore that voice. I mean, that was such a big cliffhanger, hearing that voice at the end of season 1. What could potentially be on the other end of this radio? Did they get in touch with somebody that is also in Fromville? Did they potentially get in touch with somebody outside of Fromville? So many questions going on as to what was on the other end of that radio. And then when we hear the season 3 teaser, the quick 30 seconds that we got, we hear the cowboy speaking. And he's saying to Boyd, "You said this place couldn't break you. That's what you said." If you listen to the cowboy's voice, the cowboy monster's voice, and you listen to the voice that's on the other end of the radio at the end of season 1, they kind of sound a little bit similar. Not exact, but they sound similar enough that it definitely made me kind of scratch my head and think, could the cowboy potentially have been the voice on the other end of the radio? I suppose it would make sense as to why he knew everything, and we know the monsters know everything about the survivors. So yeah, I've always wondered that. Could the cowboy monster potentially have been on the other end of the radio? Because both of the voices tend to have a very kind of slight southern drawl to it, similar to how the cowboy's voice is. He kind of has a little bit of a southern accent. the voice that came on the other end of the radio that Jim heard also had a very similar kind of Southern accent to it as well. So I've always wondered that. Could the cowboy potentially have been on the other end of the radio? Probably not, but it was just an interesting connection that I thought could be possible. Who knows, though? Who knows? Chicago Made Gaming and Media. I think the cowboy is human. Ooh, interesting. I mean, just judging by the dialogue that we got from the cowboy in season 3 in the little 30-second trailer, it just seems like very strange dialogue for the monsters. And this is one thing I know we talked about this a little bit in the past, and it's something that I'm hoping the show avoids. It's something I don't want to happen too often, and that is giving the monsters too much dialogue. I feel like in season 1, the monsters were so perfect because they had next to no dialogue. They had, a few sentences here and there that were very creepy, but that's pretty much it. They stayed relegated to a very low amount of dialogue, with the exception of Jasmine in Colony House, but that was solely just to manipulate someone into letting them in. But up until this point, I really like I just, for some reason, I hope they don't start giving the monsters too much dialogue. I feel like the monsters have a much creepier aspect to them when they are dead silent and they're only smiling. That creepy silent smile that they have is 10 times creepier than any kind of dialogue that they could give them. So the show kind of humanizing the monsters is something I'm a little bit worried about going forward. It's just me personally as a fan. I know maybe people feel differently, which is totally cool. I just don't like the monsters having a ton of dialogue. A little bit of dialogue is fine. Obviously, they have to have some dialogue at times to propel the story going forward and to communicate. That I totally understand. But I hope the monsters have a limited amount of dialogue. Only give them the dialogue that they absolutely need to propel the story forward and nothing else. Because I feel like if you humanize these monsters a little too much, they're going to lose a little bit of that creepy fear factor. If these things become a little too familiar and a little too human, then they start to lose that fear factor of the monster aspect of them. For me, a little bit anyway. I know maybe people might feel differently, which is totally cool. But that's just my one of my kind of, not fears, but one thing that I have noticed. I really hope they don't give the monsters too much dialogue. I don't mind a little, but I hope they don't have too much dialogue, because I just don't want to see them get humanized too much, I guess. But who knows? Who knows? Let's see what else we got. Let me scroll down a little bit more. That I think I just posted was the image of the flood with people on the roof. Someone shared in the Discord. Oh, awesome. Awesome stuff. Yeah, there's some great drawings down there in the Discord. For sure. And yeah, it does look indeed like that drawing was, of course, someone up on the roof while some weird kind of flood was happening. So we have seen a drawing of a depiction of some kind of flood at one point. And the monsters aren't eating people. I don't think they're eating people either. I mean, at least we haven't seen them eat anybody up until this point. We do see Jasmine again bite that dude's tongue off when she gets let inside Colony House, but she instantly spits the tongue out. She doesn't eat it. She doesn't chew it up or anything like that. I don't think they're eating people. I mean, I suppose they could be, but it seems like they're more just ripping people apart and kind of just decimating and filleting their insides. It doesn't look like they're specifically eating them. And I don't think we really see any of the monsters ever walking around with blood on their face or anything like that, evidence that they have been eating people. We haven't really seen much evidence that they eat people. I don't think they're eating people either. I think they're just ripping them up. I think they're just ripping them apart, having a good old time. What if they are all dead? And again, this was something that was brought up as well. I believe Tabitha has a conversation with Father Cautry in season 1, and she asks Father Cautry this as well. She says, "Are we all dead? Is this death? Is this hell? Are we all dead?" Tabitha asks Father Cautry, and he says, "You were already stuck here before your accident. You're alive. Your family is alive." But that's really all we get. That's really just Father Cautry believing that they are alive. We really don't know at this point. I know the purgatory theory has become kind of a popular theory since the show started, where there is a portion of people out there that think that this whole thing is some kind of purgatory, like in between state, in between life and death. Which again, it's possible. There's just so many possibilities because there's just so much we still don't know. I don't think they're dead personally. I think they are alive. I don't think it's a purgatory type state. I think it being some kind of weird pocket dimension makes a little bit more sense than it being purgatory. Just because not everybody crashed upon arrival. If we had a very clear kind of chain of events where everybody that arrived here in Fromville crashed upon entering, then I think the argument that they're all dead would hold a little bit more weight. But not everybody crashed upon arrival, so that's what leads me to believe that they're probably not all dead. I think they are alive, and I think they were all just transported into some very weird place. But I do think they are alive. I do think they are alive. I think Martin was trapped in a different layer as a defensive response to him having worms and people dying, having nightmares, until he can pass it on to die himself. Yeah, Martin is just there's so many questions surrounding Martin. Very interesting questions as well that I hope we get some answers at some point. But again, that's the biggest one for me is if Martin is trapped in this place, who trapped Martin? Who was the one that originally trapped Martin in this place? Who originally trapped the entity too? How did Martin first come in contact with the worms? So many questions surrounding frickin' Martin that we just don't know. And of course, the big question that everybody kept asking us all throughout season 2, both on the streams and in the comment sections, is how exactly did Martin throw that rope down to Boyd when he was chained to a wall? Which is, at this point, that hasn't really become a serious question. It's really more of a meme at this point, kind of like a meme that we all kind of just laugh at, really. But it is kind of funny. When that question first started popping up, everybody was asking how Martin threw the rope down to Boyd if he was chained up to a wall. And again, it's a valid question. I still don't have an answer as to how he did it. I'm still not quite sure, because when Boyd does finally get to the top of that shaft and we see where Martin is, where he's chained to the wall and where the well is, there's a good 10, 12 feet from Martin and the wall. So there's no way he could have reached that rope if he was chained up. So a lot of questions there. Yeah, how exactly did Martin drop that rope down? No clue. No clue. That's right. I totally forgot. That's right. It has been established by now that it was Quan Solar that threw the rope. I forgot about that, Quan. I forgot that you fessed up that it was established that you threw the rope. My mistake. I totally forgot about that. So there you have it, folks. It was Quan. He dropped the rope. We found the culprit, ladies and gentlemen. We found the culprit. Good stuff. Good stuff. I don't necessarily think they're the same person, but Martin and Randall heavily resemble each other. Both have military backgrounds. Ooh, interesting. Does Randall have a military background too? I must have missed that. I didn't know Randall had a military background. I don't remember hearing anything about that. Obviously, we know Martin does. We know Martin was a Marine. We see the tattoo, and I think that. That when I saw that mentioned, it almost seemed like that was specifically mentioned just so Boyd would develop an emotional connection to Martin. Because, of course, Boyd being who he is, we know Boyd does have a military background, Mr. Fish and Loaves. Boyd did serve, as did Abby. Boyd and Abby both have military backgrounds. So as soon as I saw Martin mention that he was a Marine, it almost instantly made me think, okay, this was a clear plot device to get Boyd to have some kind of emotional connection to Martin, so he wouldn't just want to leave him there. But who knows? Maybe there's something else to it. But I don't remember Randall having a military background, though. I could be wrong, but I don't remember Randall having a military background. And yes, Martin has the very old Marine Corps tattoo as far as the Marine Corps designs. Yes, and that was one thing we kind of tried to analyze a little bit ourselves. I'm not as much of an expert on it as my other co-host Aldous is. I know he dove down that rabbit hole a little bit more in terms of trying to date exactly when that Marine tattoo was from. But yeah, it definitely looked like it was an older one, an older version. It wasn't very new by the looks of it. So that's true. Very true. Good point, Tyler. Very good point. An old tattoo on an old Marine. That tip of the spear statement has always stuck in my mind, and I doubt we're going to get an answer as to who is holding it for a long time. Maybe not until the end of the series. I think so too. I mean, I think we'll find out eventually, but yeah, I think that's a reveal that will probably not come until the last season or later seasons. One thing I do hope that gets revealed before that is what else makes up the spear. If the monsters are the tip of the spear, yes, at some point we need to find out who is holding the spear. That's the big question. But we also need to find out who the rest of the spear is. Are there other creatures in here that we haven't been introduced to yet? Other dangers? I get the feeling there are. Obviously, in season one was predominantly focused around just the monsters. Season two, of course, introduced a new monster, a new threat with the whole worm cicada entity, nightmare entity thing that they were dealing with in season two. So I wonder what season three is going to bring. And I know that I've asked this in the past, but love to get everybody's thoughts in the comments as well. Do you guys think we will see a new monster in season three? Will season three introduce another new threat similar to how season two introduced the cicadas? Will season three introduce an entirely new monster to speak of? Will we see a new threat in season three? Or will it just be more of the monsters and more of the same entities that we've already seen? I'm hoping we get some new monster action. I really, really hope we start to get some new monster action in season three. But I'm not sure. I am not sure. But it seems like there are. I'd be very surprised if there isn't more dangers out there. I get the feeling the monsters are not the only threat out there in the woods. I get the feeling there is some other stuff that we have not been introduced to yet. And hopefully we get a glimpse of some of it in season three. Hopefully. If they find Tabitha's body by the tree, like they did Victor's mom, does that mean she got out and Eloise didn't? That's a good question. That's a very good question, Chicago. It could, yeah, it very well could mean that. I mean, yeah, Victor sees his mother's body, and he instantly thinks that, and I think we as audience members kind of instantly took that as Victor's mother died, but potentially Eloise got out. But if there is something true to the whole you have to die in Fromville in order to actually escape, then yes, maybe seeing Victor's mother's body is an indication that she did make it out and that maybe Eloise didn't. That's very, very possible. I mean, I guess we'll know more when season three starts. If we get to the lighthouse, and for some reason, if we do see Tabitha's body laying at the bottom of the lighthouse, I feel like that will give us a much clearer picture as to the whole theory of dying in Fromville in order to wake up in the real world. But no, that's very possible. If that is the case, maybe it's vice versa, and maybe Victor's mother made it out and Eloise didn't. That's very, very possible. I like that. That's certainly possible. Good night, chat. I have to go to bed so I can have barbecue and brisket tomorrow morning. Love your theories. Keep them coming, because when the season 3 trailer drops, we will definitely go crazy. Good night, everyone. Well, thank you so much, Robert Saunders, for joining us this evening, my friend. And again, a big thank you for the gift of the 5 memberships this evening. Very much appreciative. I very much appreciate that. I am currently cooking something up. Something special up for channel members that I am going to announce next week. I wanted to announce it tonight, but I wasn't able to get all of my ducks in a row. But I am planning to do something very special for anyone who is a member of the channel. And again, I will announce that next week. It's something that I will be implementing here on the channel. Just my small way of saying thank you to everybody who supports the channel, everybody who has become a member over the last year or two when we've started this whole weird road. It's just my small way of saying thank you to all the channel members who support us. So I will be announcing something next week that we will be doing here on the channel for, again, a small thank you from me to all the awesome channel members who support us in everything we do. You guys certainly help us keep the lights on. So big thank you. Big thank you. The Ankui children look like burn victims, and the monsters are mummified. They don't need sustenance, in my opinion. I don't think that, yeah, and I think that's probably more accurate as well. I mean, just looking at the monsters, and especially looking at their insides being all shriveled up like that, those are clearly organs that are not in working order. So that alone kind of tells you that they probably don't need any sustenance to survive, that they were probably just sustained on something else. Something else is sustaining them, some other kind of energy, some other kind of force. It doesn't seem like they need to eat. So I tend to agree with you, Quan. I definitely agree there. I don't think they need to eat. I think something else is propelling them. What has never been addressed, the monster who speaks to Julie on their first day there. He asks her if she remembers him. She never mentions him to anyone or how she knows him. Yeah, yeah, we never really get another mention of that scene, did we? And very good observation, Chrissy. Yeah, that was such a super creepy scene very early on where, yeah, and that was one of the only monsters that we've ever seen that looks like a teenager. Just about every other monster we've seen on the show seems to be an adult or a very old person, but that was one of the few monsters that we've seen that kind of looked like a teenager. And yeah, that was such a weird scene where, yeah, the monster looks directly at Julie and says, "Hey, don't you remember me? Don't you recognize me?" And the look on Julie's face, the way Julie is looking at him, it almost looks like she does kind of recognize him. But then, yeah, we get no mention of that scene ever again. We do see that very same monster again in season 2, though. In season 2, right after the bus arrives, Brian and Kelly, who go and hide in the bar, when they get a knock on the door, it's that is one of the monsters that's knocking on the door that actually kills Brian and Kelly in season 2. That's the only other time we've seen that monster again. We haven't heard from him since then. We haven't heard Julie mention that scene since then. And I often have wondered what exactly that whole thing was about. Was that just the monster trying to get into Julie's head and manipulate her? Or is there something more going on there? Did Julie actually recognize that guy? It's yeah, that was a big head scratcher. That was a very big head scratcher. Let's see what else we got. Scroll down. They could maybe trap the monsters inside a building and see what happens to them in the daytime. We know they don't just burn up because Smiley's body was still there in the morning. Yeah, and I always wondered what the heck is up with that. I mean, it seems like just based on what we saw with Smiley, there was no physical adverse reaction to the sun hitting his skin the next morning. And I guess maybe one could make the argument that maybe since Smiley was dead, there was no effect. I wonder what would it be the same effect if it was a live monster that they had trapped, which is why I really think at some point they need to trap or try to trap one of these monsters so they can finally eventually get some real answers. They can try to interrogate it for one. I would love to see a freaking scene of Boyd interrogating one of the monsters. That would be so freaking badass. So I really hope at some point they do trap one of these monsters and attempt to try and get some answers from it. And then, yeah, maybe leave it out during the day and see what happens to a live monster when the sun comes out. Will there be any kind of difference, maybe? Yeah, at some point they need to start going on the offensive a little bit more. They started to go on the offensive a little bit during season 2. They cooked up the whole plan for the bile bullets and all of that, which unfortunately didn't seem to go anywhere. Still too early to tell if the bile will have some other kind of use on the show, but as of right now, it seems like the bile was useless as a weapon. Maybe they'll find some other function for it down the road. Who knows? But yeah, hopefully you start to see them go on the offensive a little bit more in season 3. At some point, they really need to trap a monster and interrogate it and hopefully finally get some real answers. I just think that would be a very cool scene to watch if we see Boyd just interrogating the heck, Jack Bauer style, interrogating the heck out of one of these monsters. It could be pretty interesting. Could be pretty interesting. Who will be turned into a monster first? LOL. Please not Kenny. Leave him alone. That's a very interesting question. I mean, if all of these monsters were human at one point, which there is some evidence to suggest they were human at one point, if that is the case, will we see any of our cast members get turned into a monster at some point? Like, that could be a very interesting scene, and that could be a very interesting way to reveal the origin of the monsters. I feel like there's really two ways that they can reveal the origins of how the monsters are created. In one being a flashback, which is the safer and easier way, I would suppose, just a simple flashback showing us, the audience, how the monsters were created. But a more interesting and a more intriguing way to kind of reveal that to the audience would be to see that happen to one of our cast members, especially a character that we all have, really been invested in for 2, 3+ seasons. If we actually get to see one of our cast members get turned into a monster, I feel like that will have a much more profound effect on the audience than just it happening in a flashback. But yeah, who knows? It's just off the top of my head, if anyone on the show was going to get turned into a monster, my bet would be on it happening to someone like Mari. I think Mari would be a good candidate for, a character like that who isn't necessarily a main character, but has a decent supporting role that we at least know who they are. They have dialogue and speaking lines and all that. They're not just background actors. I think Mari would be a good candidate to get turned into a monster. But that's just my take. I guess the question is, who would you guys like to see get turned into a monster? Out of all of the cast members, out of all of them, out of Boyd, Victor, Jade, Donna, Julie, out of all of the cast members, who would you guys like to see get turned into a monster is my question. Who do you want to see get monsterfied? Let me know. Let me know. Let's see. They're all dead. Some they're all dead. Some turn into monsters like zombies, and some think they're still alive, but they're all dead. Ooh, interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, and in terms of characters dying here, I do get the feeling that a lot of the voices that Sarah is hearing, I do get the feeling that these are voices from people who have previously died here in Fromville. Some are good, some are bad. We get a very clear distinction in some of the orders that Sarah is receiving from some of these voices, where the ones that she receives in the beginning of season 1 are very much telling her to do some shady and nefarious things like kill Toby. Then towards the end of season 1, Sarah starts hearing a different voice, and she even calls this voice out for being different this time. This time it was a female voice, which indicates a lot of the other voices Sarah has been hearing have been male voices. But this point, at the end of season 1, Sarah specifically says that this voice was different. This one was a female. And then she instantly tells Boyd about fish and loaves, which led a lot of us to believe that Sarah was communicating with Boyd's dead wife. And I do think that was the case, especially when we hear about the advice that voice gave to Sarah, saying, I was wrong. I was wrong about this place. There's worse things out here than the monsters. It seemed like that voice was genuinely trying to warn Boyd and Sarah about danger. But yeah, I get the feeling there are multiple voices out there that Sarah is hearing. I think some of them might be potentially good and trying to help, like Abby, and some of them might be a little bit more nefarious, like the ones that told her to kill Toby. But just a theory. Just a theory. But let's see what you guys are saying about the monsters. Boyd! Now, Boyd would be an interesting choice to get turned into a monster. Boyd would be a very interesting choice. I mean, he's freaking Boyd, for crying out loud. Sarah may get turned into a monster. Sarah, I feel, is another good candidate. Yeah, I think that could be a very interesting candidate if they were to turn Sarah into a monster. That would be pretty nuts. That'd be pretty freaking nuts. I could see that happening. I could definitely see that happening. Let's see what else we got. I was so disappointed that Jade didn't see the cave murals. That area would be caged in with the debris from the Matthews house. Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of us were hoping that that Jade was going to see these symbols down there. But like you said, after the Matthews family home collapsing like that and all of that debris falling into that hole, that mural, these symbols might not even be accessible anymore. So that's a good point. Very good point. Wolf Spear says, Ellis, let's turn Ellis into a monster. Yeah, Ellis is having all of these weird thoughts that he's, having this weird feeling that the baby is going to get born with fangs and claws. What if that's really some kind of feeling for him getting turned into something with fangs and claws? Yeah, it could be Ellis. I feel like Sarah's actress would play a monster so well. Yeah, I think so too. In terms of kind of just having that blank face, that almost emotionless face with just a creepy smile, Sarah's actress, I think, could pull that off very, very well indeed. Yeah, that would be a good pick. That would be a good pick. I just want Fatima and Ellis to get got. They suck. Again, I know we've talked about this in the past in terms of what characters we think might not make it out of season 3. Who is potentially on the chopping block heading into the 3rd season? And for me, I always end up circling back to Fatima and Ellis. I have a feeling one of them will die in season 3. I don't know. I get the feeling something bad is going to happen to one of them, and I do think it's going to be directly tied to this place continuing to try and break Boyd. This place seems to want to break Boyd in a bad way. It doesn't seem like this place wants to kill Boyd. It seems like it physically, specifically wants to break him. And what would break Boyd more than losing his son or his unborn grandchild? So I think Fatima and Ellis could potentially be on the chopping block. I think they could be. Sarah was so ready to kill people and cut them up. Yeah, she had like no hesitation. I mean, like, I don't know what the hell those voices were saying to Sarah, but whatever they were doing, they were easily manipulating her and convincing her to do pretty much anything they wanted. So yeah, Sarah was very, very easily manipulated there. Fatima or Boyd, Randall, Mari, and Julie is the only one. Is the only people so far. Fatima or Boyd, Randall, Mari, and Julie. Yeah, well, we know Randall, Mari, and Julie were obviously the ones that got taken over by the weird cicada entity at the end of season 2. Something about Mari, man. I don't know why. Just something about Mari I can't quite put my finger on it, but something about Mari and her character is just off to me. I don't know. I have a feeling we're going to get some kind of weird reveal for her character. And again, I think she would be a good candidate to turn into a monster as well. I think there are dead people in Fromland that some can hear their voices, and I think Kui kids were dead and have been sacrificed. The actual main groups of people thought, though, are alive. Yeah, I mean, what exactly is happening to the weird Kui children? I feel like that's something that definitely needs to get explored a little bit more in season 3 as well. We got a really good beginning foundation to these weird Kui children in season 2, where they set up the mystery very intriguingly, but now they need to kind of pull on that thread a little bit more, and they need to show us exactly who these Kui children are and what exactly was happening to them in that weird experiment, ritual, sacrifice, whatever was happening to them. We need to learn a little bit more about that in season 3. I really hope we do, because yeah, these Kui children are one of the most fascinating parts of the show, and trying to unravel the mystery as to what happened to them has been very fun. We see the kind of state that they're in. They got missing hair. It almost looks like burn marks or even radiation burns in some cases. These kids are very disheveled, and they look like they have been through the absolute ringer. Yeah, in a lot of instances, they look like burn marks. Like, you look at the clothes look very much like they've been singed, like they were maybe caught in some kind of fire at some point. Yeah, we got to learn a little bit more about these freaky Ankui children and what is their purpose. What are they trying to convey to Tabitha? Because it seemed like they were reaching out to Tabitha in season 2, almost like they were trying to get Tabitha to hear something, almost like they had some kind of message for Tabitha that they couldn't just come out and say, but they're trying to convey to her in other ways. And I guess we'll have to find out in season 3, will these Ankui children continue to appear to Tabitha? And are they trying to convey something to Tabitha? Which I think they are. I think ultimately these Ankui children are trying to tell Tabitha something. She's just not quite picking it up yet. But yeah, a lot of great theories tonight, guys. A lot of really great theories and questions tonight. You guys always absolutely kill it. Jasmine said it wasn't her choice to be this way. Christy did the Smiley autopsy and said they are human organs. Maybe they were once human and they were cursed by some supernatural entity. And I think that's, I mean, and that's something we definitely have dived into in the past here, because I get the feeling when Jasmine says that line that it wasn't my choice to be like this, obviously she could be lying, but I get the feeling she wasn't. I don't know why. Something about the way she delivered that line. I truly get the feeling that whatever happened to these people, whatever turned them into monsters, it was against their will. I get the feeling they were not willing participants in whatever happened to them. So whenever Jasmine does say that line, I don't know why. Something about the way that she delivers that line, I tend to kind of believe her. I do tend to believe that it was none of their choices to end up the way that they ended up. Something tragic happened to these people, whether it was some kind of experiment, some kind of ritual, some kind of weird transformation. Something very tragic happened to these people that turned them into monsters, and I very much think that is the case. And it seems to be supernatural. I definitely think it is super. I think it will have more of a supernatural explanation more than sci-fi. I know the show From is technically listed as a sci-fi series, but these days, I mean, you can't really put too much stock into those kind of designations, because sci-fi today doesn't really mean what it meant 10 years ago. Blending of genres has become so prevalent, particularly in fantasy and sci-fi, more than almost any other genre. All of these genres really tend to get mixed in with one another. So just because the show is designated as a sci-fi show, that doesn't mean that there won't be a supernatural reason to a lot of the things that are going on here. And I do think that is the case. I think a lot of the stuff that we're seeing points a little bit more towards a supernatural reason rather than a sci-fi. But that's just my take. I could be 100% wrong. What if the monsters are not torturing someone in that barn, but they are turning them into a monster in front of Boyd? Ooh, just a thought. That's a very interesting one as well. I mean, I think a lot of us have been so caught up as to trying to figure out who is in the Boyd with barn, who is in the barn with Boyd, and not exactly what is happening. I know the whole Fatima giving birth under monster captivity has definitely become a popular theory. I think it's a very interesting theory as well. I myself did a video on that. But yeah, what if there's something else going on here, Kiwi? What if Boyd is physically being forced to watch someone get turned into a monster? That would be a freaking nuts scene. That would be absolutely insane if Boyd is just being tied to a post and forced to watch this gnarly transformation of watching someone that he knows and cares for get turned into one of these monsters. That would be a freaking crazy scene. That would be such a crazy scene. And that's something that Boyd would affect Boyd a lot, I think. So I like that. I like that. That is a good one. Yes, the vial must wipe out all hope. Fatima being pregnant is hope. The Ville, yes. And yeah, it definitely seems like this place kind of almost gives them a little bit of hope at times, just to take it away in the very next step. And we even hear Boyd kind of say something like that at the end of season 1, right after he got bit by all the spiders and he's super weak, and he and Sarah are trying to climb up that hill right before the boy in white arrives. And directs them to the faraway tree. You hear Boyd say that this place gives you hope just to take it away. And I do think there is an aspect of that going on here. We look at the monsters and we look at all of their tactics and everything that they do. Yes, they kill people, but it doesn't seem like killing people is their only goal. It seems like they want people afraid as well. So yeah, I mean, it seems like there is some kind of aspect of this place giving you a little bit of hope just to turn around and take it away in the next step. I do think that is a very prevalent theme in the show. And then we even get that line from Sarah in season 2 where she's starting to think that um, that maybe it's not fear that the forest feeds on, but hope. It feeds on your hope, which is something we hear the entity say to Boyd at the end of season 2 as well, when the Abbey entity appears to Boyd saying, it's not fear that this place feeds on, it's hope. And I think there is an aspect of that. I do think there is an aspect of this place giving people false hope just to give them that false hope to take it away from them. Because what's going to break down somebody more than that? Obviously, killing somebody it has a certain finality to it. Once you're dead, you're dead. But having someone suffer like that is just it's a way more prevalent kind of it just seems like it's a little more in the monster's wheelhouse. Yes, they want to kill people. Obviously, they kill plenty of people, but it also seems like they're playing some games with certain people as well, where they want certain people to suffer, to have fear, so they can break them. So yeah, I think there is a certain aspect of that, of this place giving people some false hope just to come and take it away from them later on. Let's see what else we got. And again, awesome discussion tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It's always so fun to dive into these things. I love talking with everybody. And I love how we get into these streams with a certain topic, and we always kind of end up diving into so many other areas, which is so fun about talking about From. I never know where these streams are going to take us. And you guys never disappoint in the chat with all of your thoughts, your theories, your comments, everything that you guys bring up. You guys have some of the best theories surrounding this show that I've seen anywhere online. So again, I always want to give a big thank you to everybody who comes out here and hangs out with us for a little bit. I know time is incredibly precious, especially, it's Friday night. The weekend is fastly approaching. So I really do appreciate anyone who takes a little bit of time to come and hang out with us for a little bit and share your thoughts and theories. I know time is money these days. So I'm very, very thankful to everybody who comes and hangs out. So will the Tom to Jade avatar also be a manipulator like Father Cautry is to Boyd, or will the Time avatar be on the side of good? See, this is one thing I've always wondered about these reoccurring characters, these dead characters coming back. What exactly is their end game? What is the goal? And what are they, for starters? Is this just simply a manifestation of Boyd and Jade's mind, or is there something else going on there? And you start to think about the outcomes of what happened when Jade was visited by Tom. The one thing that dead Tom did was try to convince Jade to go into the tunnels. Jade was very kind of hesitant to go down there into those tunnels until he talked to Tom. So in a sense, Tom did kind of manipulate Jade into going into those tunnels to potentially find some answers. So yeah, I mean, we do see a certain level of manipulation every time we see one of these dead characters return. Father Cautry, when he returns to Boyd, he's trying to convince Boyd to not tell Kenny about Sarah's hand and his father's death. For whatever reason, this Father Cautry, this dead version of Father Cautry, for whatever reason, didn't want Boyd to tell Kenny about Sarah for some reason. And then again, with the Jade one, with the dead bartender Tom coming back, clearly this dead version of Tom was trying to manipulate Jade into going into the tunnels. So yeah, there's definitely a certain level of manipulation with these dead characters that they come back. And I get the feeling we'll maybe see that theme continue in season 3. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens when Cautry and Tom come back in season 3. Because again, I do think both of them will be in season 3 in some small cameo role. But yeah, definitely some manipulation going on there for sure. Definitely some manipulation. the trailer is happening further into the season? I tend to think so as well. I mean, obviously it's possible it could be happening in the first episode or two, but just judging on what happens in that scene, in that trailer, I tend to think that that's an event that'll probably happen a little bit later on in the season, maybe halfway through the season or something like that. I tend to think that's not happening in the first episode. I could be wrong though, but I do agree with you. I think it's happening a little bit later. Answers are like orgasms, you get it, and that's great, and then you're disappointed, the fun is over. I mean, that's kind of a perfect, kind of a perfect allegory at the end of the day. Yes, orgasms are great and all, but then when it's over, you're like, fuck, it's over. And that's very much like Answers here on a show like From, where we're at the point right now where we're heavily into the mystery phase of From, trying to figure out all these mysteries, trying to figure out what they mean. So when these mysteries do eventually get answered, yeah, it takes a little bit of that mystery aspect away from the show. So yeah, I mean, at this point, we're kind of just living in the mystery phase and basking in the glory that is Fromville. The boy in white sent Tabitha out the window because she was getting too close, or he wants to send her to the truth. Yeah, again, I mean, what are the motives for the boy in white pushing Tabitha out of that window? And what was the plan? Was the boy in white's plan to send Tabitha back to the real world? Is there something that Tabitha maybe needs to accomplish there, like potentially meeting up with Eloise or something else? Or what else? Or was, like you said, maybe the boy in white realized that Tabitha was getting a little too close to figuring something out, and maybe the boy in white just needed Tabitha off the board. We don't know. There's just so much about the boy in white's motivations that are so unclear up until this point, where we're not quite sure. Was he trying to help Tabitha, or was he trying to harm her and throw her off? I mean, either could be true at this point. Either could very well be true. But yeah, it's an interesting way to think about it, though. What exactly is going on there? What exactly is going on there? It wasn't snowing in the finale, was it? No, it wasn't. We didn't get any snow in the finale of season 2. When the finale of season 2 came around, it was cold. Like the cold weather had already started moving in. We started to see Victor and a few of the other characters start to put on winter coats and things like that. So by the end of season 2, the cold was starting to move in, but we hadn't gotten any snow yet. The snow doesn't start until we see that season 3 teaser trailer, where it looks like there is snow covering the ground. But no snow in season 2. Just the cold started to come in towards the end of season 2, but we didn't actually see any snow. Let's see. If the boy in white was just evil, I don't know why he'd apologize to her and tell her it's the only way. Again, yeah, the dialogue is super sus as well, because, yeah, that dialogue, when you hear that dialogue in isolation, he says, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry, but this is the only way. And yeah, it kind of, just based off that dialogue alone, you kind of get the sense that maybe he is trying to help her. Maybe he is sending her back to the real world because there is something she specifically needs to do. Why he wouldn't just come out and tell her that, I don't know. Maybe he thought Tabitha would never agree to go where she went without her family, so he kind of just took matters into his own hands and pushed her. Maybe he was afraid if he asked her that she would say no, because obviously she cares about her family. I can't imagine Tabitha leaving her family by choice. So maybe that's why the boy in white kind of just took matters into his own hand, because he knew Tabitha wouldn't do what he wanted if he asked. It's again, it's just, there's just so much of the boy in white's motivations that are just cloaked in mystery. I have no clue. I have no clue. Now, when it's over, you just have a smoke and think about how beautiful and fleeting life is. Very true, Admiral. This is very true. It's a good time for contemplation. Light up a smoke and contemplate how good life is. Oh yeah, man. It's a good way of looking at it. It's a good way of looking at it. I don't understand why the monsters are grabbing Boyd instead of attacking him. In the trailer, I think that's because they're trying to attack. They're trying to tie him up to the post, and they do attack him. If we look closely, and let me see, I will pull up the stills. If we look closely at the trailer, at the season 3 teaser, the monsters do indeed attack Boyd. They claw him on the shoulder and they draw blood, a good amount of blood at that. But after that, they seem to be mostly just trying to tie him up to that post because they want him to watch whatever they're getting ready to do. It seems like that entire scene was solely engineered to break Boyd, not to kill Boyd. If they wanted to kill Boyd, they could have killed him at any point in time. They literally have him tied to a post in the trailer. So if the monsters wanted to kill Boyd, they could have easily done that. It seems like this scene is specifically set up not to kill Boyd, but to break Boyd. And I think the dialogue supports that as well with what Cowboy Monster says, where he recounts what Boyd said at the end of season 2, where you said this place couldn't break you. That's what you said. And then we hear the Cowboy Monster say, "We'll see. Let's see." Almost like they're going to test Boyd's words and see if he indeed can be broken. But we do see they do actually attack Boyd as well. If we see there's one specific point in the trailer and we see a clear look of pain on Boyd's face and we see the claw marks in his shoulder. Looks like one of the monsters does indeed claw Boyd up here in the shoulder. And then a few frames later, we can actually see blood starting to fall from the claw marks. So they do attack him. But I don't think they're there to kill him. I think they're there to specifically break him, not kill him. But I can't wait to see the rest of this scene play out. That's such a crazy scene. And I think it's going to be one of those scenes where when the final scene does actually come around, it's going to be one of those things that we just didn't expect to see at all. And that's what's so fun about From, and that's what's so fun about theorizing about all this stuff and diving into all of these rabbit holes, trying to figure out everything that we can find out. And then when the actual show comes around and we see maybe where we were right and maybe where we were wrong, it's always kind of interesting to see, because usually things are not always what they appear to be on this show. If we see something that looks to be one thing, 9 times out of 10, something totally different is actually happening in that scene. And that's what's so fun about From, the constant twists and turns that they throw at us. I want to see one of the characters turned into a monster by the end of the series. And it's funny you mentioned that. We were actually literally just talking about this maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes ago. We were just talking about this exact topic. And I was asking the chat, who would you guys like to see get turned into a monster? Out of all of the characters that we have in Fromville, who do you think would make the best monster? I think Victor would make a great freaking monster. I think Mari would make a great monster. There's a lot of characters that I think would make decent monsters. A few people brought up Sarah as well. I think Sarah would be a very good choice as well. But yeah, I hope at one point we will see a human get turned into a monster. We did hear from some of the writers and showrunners that at some point, I don't know when it's going to be coming. It might not be coming in season 3. It might not come until the last season. But they did say at one point we will find out the origin of the monsters. The origins of the monsters is something they already have written out. It's something they already know. And they did say that is something we will find out at some point. Again, I don't think it'll happen until way, way, way later on. But at some point, they will reveal exactly how the monsters were created. And that's something I want to see. I would love to see one of our human cast members get turned into a monster. That would be freaking nuts. That would be a nuts scene. That would be a nuts scene. But yeah, Jim can turn into a monster. He would still suck, but at least we can enjoy him turning into a monster. The Jim hate is just so real. There's not many Jim fans. Good stuff. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Boyd is the person that everyone relies on the most. So if they break him slowly, they drag out the pain and suffering of the entire town. That's what makes sense to me that they aren't killing him. Absolutely. I mean, Boyd is their leader. Boyd is the rock. He is the one that is carrying this town on his back. And Donna, too, to a certain extent. I feel like Donna is also a pretty strong leader. But Boyd's the main leader. Boyd, he's the sheriff. He's the one that's keeping everyone together. He's the one that's keeping everyone safe. So yeah, if you did want to bring the entire morale of the whole town down, Boyd would be the first person I would go for, because again, he's the town backbone. He's the strength. He's the hero. He's the one keeping everybody safe. If they truly wanted to screw this town up, breaking Boyd would be a great start. So yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. I think that's why they're not killing him. I think that's why they're specifically trying to break him and not kill him. But I guess we'll see. I guess we shall see. But man, I didn't realize we have been going for over 3 hours already. And again, I could freaking talk from all freaking night and not get bored. But unfortunately, I do have to get ready to close it down soon. But I think we will probably try and go live Sunday night as well to continue some From talk, because these conversations just never get old for me. I love diving into all things From with everybody. You guys really are the best. Really are the best. But for anyone who maybe wasn't here in our last stream, I guess before we close things out, I will ask a similar question that I have asked in the past. Coming into season 3, especially knowing that in season 1 we got a pretty big major character death in Father Cautry, but season 2 came around and we didn't really get any big main character deaths. Obviously we lost Smiley and we lost Tom the bartender, but other than that we haven't really lost any main big protagonists of the show. So that is my question to everybody in the chat before we close out. Coming into season 3, who do you guys think is going to get killed off in season 3? If you had to choose one character to get killed off in season 3, who do you think is the most likely to get killed off in the upcoming season? I would love to know your guys' thoughts and picks. Who do you think is on the chopping block in season 3? Who do you think will not make it out? What's the latest date? 1976. I think it's 76 or 78. I believe 78 is the latest date on the wall behind Tabitha, and that is most likely the same date as the Victor massacre when Victor was a child. That, just judging by the timelines and judging by which years line up with what, 1978 would fit perfectly for the year of the first massacre when Victor was a child. And yes, that, I think 1978 is the latest date on the wall there as well. I think that is the latest date. But yeah, big thanks for everyone's thoughts about the show and everyone's thoughts, your suggestions, your time. I really can't thank each and every one of you enough. Again, I really look forward to doing all of these streams. I love getting on here and talking From with everybody. It's my favorite show in the world by far. Cannot wait for season 3 to eventually get around. I know we still got a few months away, but it's nice knowing that we do have that release window to look forward to. Fall season 3 of From is hitting our screens. And of course, when we get a little bit closer to season 3 airing, we will definitely be doing a season 1 and a season 2 rewatch party, similar to what we did when season 2 came around. We went back and rewatched season 1. We will definitely be doing that when season 3 comes around as well. We will do a season 1 and a season 2 live rewatch party right here on the channel. So hopefully you guys come back and hang out with us and continue to dive into all things From as we wait on the next season to eventually come around. Fatima and Sarah from Crom and Uncle thinks Fatima and Sarah are on the chopping block for season 3. I like it. Tom was the death that upset me the most. Yeah, I was really bummed when we lost Tom. He was such a freaking awesome character. I was genuinely bummed when we lost Tom. I miss him. I do miss Tom. Susan says Randall. Randall is not making it out of season 3. That's a very good pick as well. Randall is. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of trajectory Randall goes on. I know we talked a little bit during our last stream about Randall potentially having some sort of redemption arc, and I think that is possible. I do think Randall will find redemption at some point, or who knows? Maybe he'll just turn into a bigger dick. I know that's also a theory as well, but I do think Randall will have some kind of redemption arc at some point. Probably Ellis, to be honest. Ooh, Ellis. Yeah, Ellis is definitely, I think, between Ellis and Fatima, those are the two that I'm putting my money on. In terms of a character that I think will probably not make it out of season 3, I think Ellis and Fatima are on the chopping block. A major character must die in season 3. I don't know which though, and that's kind of where I'm at as well. I do agree. I feel like they need to. You have to keep that, and I know I've said this in the past, but you have to keep that feeling of anyone can go at any given point alive. That's what was so good about season 1 of From, especially the death of Father Cautry. It came at the perfect time. Like, I don't think any of us were expecting Father Cautry to die when he did. Even Father Cautry himself was so surprised that he was dying in that moment. He thought his path was just beginning. Father Cautry thought he had so much more to do. He was getting ready to go with Boyd and Sarah out into the woods to potentially find answers. Father Cautry, the look of shock and surprise on Father Cautry's face when he was dying, it was one of those looks where he almost felt like God let him down. Like he thought God put him on a very specific path, and he thought he still had much more to do. And then to see his life get cut short like that, it was one of the best deaths I've ever seen on a show in terms of impact. And I hope we get a little bit more of that in season 3, because that kind of scene perfectly underscored the fact that nobody is safe, that anybody can go at any given time. And you really want a show like this to have that kind of aspect to it, especially with the nature of the monsters and the nature of all of the threats that are surrounding them. You never want to get to a point where the audience knows there's a bunch of plot armor surrounding these characters. You want the audience to always at least believe a little bit that anybody could die at any given point. So I think killing a main character off in season 3 will go a long way into reinforcing that belief that, yeah, nobody is safe. At least I hope. I hope that's what happens. Because you don't want the show to ever become complacent, which I don't think it will, but have to keep that factor alive. Anybody could go at any given time. Let's see what else you guys were saying in terms of the season 3 deaths. Other than Fatima or Sarah, maybe Chrissy or Elgin. Yeah, I mean, I hope nothing happens to Chrissy. Elgin, I feel like Elgin will probably be around for a little while longer. I feel like with Elgin's premonitions and him kind of tapping into the supernatural aspect of things, I think Elgin will have a bigger part to play in season 3 than he did in 2. Although I could be wrong. Who knows? Maybe they'll end up just killing him off. That's definitely possible. Kenny or Sarah, says Kiwi Skirt. Yeah, Kenny and Sarah are definitely. I feel like Sarah. I mean, I feel like Sarah's on the chopping block. As much as I don't want Sarah to get killed off, I mean, I just feel like her arc up until this point it's not complete, but I feel like that could be one of those characters that you could see their arc get cut short way before its time. So I do think Sarah is definitely in danger of getting killed off. Indeed. Kenny's mom is going to go bye-bye. Kenny will go nuts. Yeah, that will break Kenny. I mean, Kenny has been through the ringer up until this point, obviously. Losing his father in season 1 in that horrific manner, watching his father literally get ripped to shreds, really affected Kenny. And then later on, finding out that Sarah had a hand in his father's death was just a bigger blow. And then, of course, we have the fallout between Kenny and Boyd, where Kenny feels very betrayed by Boyd. So Kenny's just been getting hit with loss after loss after loss after loss. If he were to lose his mother on top of it, that would break him. And not to mention Kenny kind of losing Christy as well. Kenny and Christy were clearly developing some sort of romantic connection. There was something there between Kenny and Christy. And then all of a sudden, boom, Christy's fiance shows up, and now Kenny is stuck in the friend zone. So Kenny has been taking L after L after L. That losing his mother would completely break him, I think. Completely break him. And some people seem to think that Tien Chen is the body that is in the cart at the beginning of the season 3 trailer. Shoegate has been very prevalent here in the chat. A lot of people have been analyzing shoes of members of Fromville to try and determine who this shoe could belong to. And a lot of people keep thinking that this shoe could potentially belong to Tien Chen, Kenny's mother. And I guess it's possible. Like, again, anything's possible at this point. But yeah, that would completely break Kenny if he were to lose her. Completely break her. Kenny would be broken. Jade Dollar will go with Jeremy into the woods. Well, thank you, Jade Dollar. You can trust me. You can trust me in the woods. I wouldn't do anything untoward, my friend. I wouldn't do anything untoward. If Ellis goes, will Boyd become obsessed with the baby? It will be all he has left with him. Absolutely. I mean, I could see Boyd becoming incredibly overprotective. If Ellis does indeed die and Boyd is pretty much left only with the grandchild, that's pretty much all Boyd will have left at that point is his grandchild. So yeah, I could definitely see him becoming almost obsessively obsessed with overprotecting the kid. Boyd's lost a lot. Boyd has lost quite a lot. Ethan is sacrificed. Tabitha comes back and sees her son as an Aunt Cooey kid and is the only thing he can say to her. That would be the darkest death, I think, or one of them. That would be incredibly dark, Tyler. I 100% agree. That's a dark path, man. Yeah, if Tabitha is doing everything in her power, wherever she is, to try and find her way back to her family, when she does eventually return and she finds Ethan not only dead, but in like that Aunt Cooey state, yeah, that would be one of the darkest reveals we've seen on the show. That would be nuts. That would be freaking nuts. Not a main character, but OG character, Mrs. Liu. Maybe she's in the wheelbarrow, and that's why Jade is pulling it with Boyd. Yeah, a lot of people were pointing that out. That maybe maybe why Jade is pulling the car and why that look is on Jade's face. Jade does look like he's kind of just been through the ringer as well. Yeah, maybe, who knows? Maybe that is Kenny's mother in the car. We have seen the connection that Kenny's mother and Jade did make in season 1 and in season 2, where Kenny's mother kind of became like a mother to Jade in some cases. So yeah, I could definitely see that affecting Jade a lot if Kenny's mother did die, for sure. I hope Ethan doesn't die just because Fatima's baby is born and there can only be one child at a time, perhaps. It was bad enough with Megan that we didn't get to know that little girl. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. If there is any truth to the theory that a lot of us have been talking about, that there can only be one child in town at a time, then yeah, what exactly is going to happen to Ethan when the baby is born? It makes you think. It makes you think. Indeed. Indeed. But yeah, great stuff tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I love diving into this show and talking it with everybody. You guys have been so supportive of the channel and helping us grow in ways that I never thought would be possible on our small, humble little channel. So again, I really can't thank each and every one of you enough for taking some time out of your night to come and hang out with me and share some thoughts and theories on what is definitely my favorite show that is on TV right now. I think From is the best show that is currently on TV, and I think it's the best show that's been on TV in quite a while at that. So it's been so fun to kind of dive into this stuff and hopefully dissect some of these mysteries and maybe solve some of them collectively as a whole. But yeah. Awesome stuff. Let me grab these last few here and we will get ready to close it out. Let's see. Looks like the tiny feet. So old Asian woman or child seems like, yeah. The feet do look a little bit small. So that definitely makes you think, could it potentially be a child's foot or a female foot? Yeah, maybe it's because females do tend to have tiny feet. So yeah, I could definitely see it being a female foot for sure. Kenny literally said he was hanging by a thread already in the very beginning. He said, "I can't see any more bodies." Then his dad died in the same episode. How much more can he take? Yeah, I think Kenny is at the very end of his rope, for sure. I don't think Kenny can take much more. I think if someone were to die, if one more person were to die that Kenny was even closely connected to, I think it could send him over the edge. If something happens to Christy, if something happens to Boyd, and obviously if something happens to Kenny's mother, I think either one of those three things would easily send Kenny over the deep end. Because, like you said, he's already holding on by a thread. Already holding on by a thread. And yes, this also, it is kind of one of those optical illusion things as well. Maybe the foot only looks small because it appears to be broken. I don't think it's that small a foot if not broken. And not only broken, and it's also right next to another foot that has a shoe on it as well. So you see this big shoe right next to this tiny foot, and you think, yes, is it just a tiny foot, or is it just kind of one of those illusions because you see that big shoe right next to the tiny foot? So, no, I see what you mean, Kiwi. I definitely see what you mean. Could be. Very well could be. This looks like Sarah's shoe to me in the car. Could be. I was away, just got back. Did you all discuss how Victor's mom got Tabitha's bracelet? Not tonight. Not tonight. We discussed that a little bit last night. And that's one of the biggest mysteries on the show. It's just one of those things we have no clue. I mean, there just is not enough information out there for us to adequately say for 100% certainty how that bracelet got there. A lot of really good fan theories surrounding it, but in terms of how that bracelet ended up in that storage realm and how that bracelet ended up on Victor's mother's wrist, that's one of the biggest questions we've had up until this point. I have no clue where that freaking thing originated from and how it ended up in Fromville, how it ended up on Victor's mother's wrist. It's very strange. I know Ravener, my co-host Ravener, has a very interesting theory on that, where he thinks that maybe the bracelet was never actually on Victor's mother's wrist, that Victor was just maybe misremembering it, because we know Victor has a very sus memory and he doesn't get all the details right. I suppose anything could be possible at this point. I myself don't really have any one set theory on the bracelet up until this point. I think that's something I really need to kind of sit down and really think about a little bit more. It's not really something I've put enough thought into yet. But there's definitely something weird going on there with the whole bracelet shit. How exactly did it get there? Who knows? Who knows? I would think it could be another monster in the card. Maybe the nurse. I'm not sure how they could kill another one though, unless they tried to take that baby and something about it kills her. Yeah, that's a possibility. I mean, a lot of us kind of instantly think that it's a human body when we see that. But I suppose it's well, what makes me think it's not a monster is the blood. From what we've seen about the monsters, it doesn't seem like they have any blood within their body. We have seen Boyd cut Smiley's throat and practically no blood came out of that wound. We saw Christy do the autopsy, and inside of them, they were all completely shriveled up and dry. They don't seem to have any blood in their bodies. So when I see all of the blood and when I see the blood here and the kind of the really messed up and mangled foot, that just kind of leads me to believe that this is most likely a human. Although, again, anything could be possible. Maybe it could be a monster, but I get the feeling at least this foot is human, just based on the blood. It seems like the monsters don't have any blood. But, who knows? Who knows? Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Let me see. Let me scroll down, get these last two, and we will get out of here. Let's see, a lot of time travel shenanigans going on with that bracelet, unless they're hinting at Tabitha being Victor's mother reincarnated. Now, that's an interesting thing at all, and I forget who brought it up. I hate not being able to credit the right person when I hear a theory. But I remember somebody brought up in the chat something similar, that maybe Tabitha could be another version of Victor's mother, which is, I mean, again, yeah, they're playing with some very weird kind of time travel-y type thing there with the bracelet, which on one hand is very interesting, but on another hand, it makes me a little bit nervous. I know I've said this multiple times in the past, but I cannot count how many times I have seen time travel ruin good stories. Time travel is one of those things that you really need to get it right. If you're going to employ time travel into a TV series, it has to be done right, because I have seen time travel just absolutely ruin stories in the past, both shows, movies, comics. I have seen time travel absolutely ruin stuff. Hell, all you got to do is take one look at Marvel's Endgame to see how bad time travel can butcher a story's narrative if it's not done right. And apologies to anybody who is a big Endgame fan. That's totally cool if you are. I just wasn't a huge fan of Endgame and the whole time travel aspect. I really enjoyed Infinity War much better. But that's a story for another time. But yes, when it comes to time travel, I'm very weary about seeing time travel introduced into From. We've already seen so many hints that time travel could potentially already be an aspect of the show. And maybe that'll be revealed a little bit later on, that time travel will be playing a part. All I hope is that if they do go the time travel route on From, they do it in a clever way. When I look at the series Dark, and I know we talked about this the other night, Dark on Netflix, if you guys are a fan of From, you'll probably like Dark as well. But Dark on Netflix is one of the few shows out there that does time travel incredibly clever. Like, it's such a clever time travel story. It's not just the cheap, weird time travel stories. Dark does time travel in a very clear, concise, and kind of grounded way. So if From is going to introduce time travel into the show, I really hope they're careful with it, and I really hope it's used very sparingly. Because again, time travel can just for me personally, as a viewer, time travel has ruined stories for me in the past. So I really hope if they do go the time travel route, they do it in a unique way that we haven't seen before, and it isn't just the same old recycled time travel stuff. That could really ruin this show if they go that route. But again, that's just my opinion. Just my opinion. And yeah, just remember, it's Victor's memories. That bracelet may never have been there, and that was Ravener's theory as well. Ravener was thinking that maybe the bracelet was never there, that it was just Victor's bad memories. Because, like you said, we have seen may have never been there, but Victor's memories is capable of aspects of Tabitha with his mother. They're also possible. Yeah, almost like maybe Victor saw that bracelet on Tabitha and kind of subconsciously put it on his mother's wrist in that flashback, and maybe didn't even realize he was doing it, because again, his memories are very unreliable, to say the least. So yeah, maybe the bracelet was never even really there. It was just one of those illusion type things. Again, so many freaking possibilities. So many possibilities. Time travel should be very simple, and the rules should be consistent with the universe, to be used sparingly. And that's why I really enjoyed Dark. I feel like Dark really did time travel in a very clever way, where they used it, they implemented it in a very specific narrative way, and they never deviated from it. That was what was great about Dark. Every time time travel was brought up or used, it was very consistent throughout. And that is one of the big things that ruins time travel stories, is the inconsistencies that we see sometimes with certain time travel stories, where sometimes it'll just directly contradict itself. So yeah, if they are going to use time travel, definitely use it sparingly, and make sure it makes sense continuity wise. You want it to all kind of fit cohesively within the narrative that is already present. Because yeah, again, I've seen time travel ruin some really good stories in the past. The more complex they get with the time bending, the worse it messes up the story. Exactly. People try to get too clever. They try to get a little too complicated, and that's when mistakes start to happen. And honestly, that's what happened with Lost. I love Lost. I love everything about Lost. But the time travel storyline in Lost Season 5 nearly ruined the show. It almost ruined the show. Luckily, they were able to pull back from that edge. But the time travel in Lost almost ruined that show. I'm very glad they were able to recover from it. But yeah, you got to be careful. Sometimes people introduce time travel, and like you said, Admiral, they try to get a little too clever with it. They try to get a little too complex, and it ends up just looking like a complete mess at the end of the day. So yeah, hopefully if From does go the time travel route, they use it sparingly, and it makes sense within the world, for sure. for sure. But again, I want to thank everybody again for joining us tonight. I hate to close it down while we still have 80 people in the chat. Again, I cannot thank you guys enough for being so supportive of the channel and coming out and hanging out with us every week and sharing your thoughts and theories and all of that. I can't thank each and every one of you enough. But I do have to close it down now, unfortunately. But big thank you again, huge thank you to everybody in the chat for joining us this evening. I know Friday night is not always the easiest night to kind of get time away. I know people have jobs and families and kids and all that. So again, I always really appreciate anybody who takes some time out of your busy day to come and hang out and talk some From with us for a few hours. You guys really are the best chat in the world. And we will continue. We will continue to go live week after week as we wait for From Season 3 to hit our screens this fall. And I cannot freaking wait. We will be here diving into all of the mysteries and all of the theories while we wait for the third season to hit our screens. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you out there. I hope everyone out there is staying safe and has a great weekend. Tomorrow is Saturday. The weekend is officially here. So I hope everybody is getting ready to have a very fun and safe weekend. But until next time, everybody, stay kind to one another, stay safe out there, and as always, never be afraid to dive into that rabbit hole and throw on that tinfoil hat. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you on the next one. Whoops! And before I close it out, we have a new video premiering tomorrow morning. Some of the stuff in the video is stuff we have talked on streams about in the past, but I just wanted to put this theory into video form for anyone who doesn't watch the streams. So if you guys haven't got a notification, I am premiering a brand new video tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, and it focuses predominantly on Tabitha's story in season 3. So if you guys haven't seen that already, definitely check out the video tomorrow morning where we dive into all things Tabitha season 3 and where her storyline could potentially be going. And until next time, folks, again, keep those tinfoil hats on and we will see you on the next one.
You said this place couldn't break you. That's what she said. Let's see.
You're so strong. You're so strong. Just no. I know. It's all just a dream.
What if all this was designed just to see how we react?
What if this place is trying to torture me?
What if the people these monsters are killing, what if they're all in on it?
What if this is all some kind of fucked up experiment?
What if the answers are out there? Maybe we just didn't go out far enough.
I saw it.
What'd you see?
I saw the Lake of Tears. It was a drawing on the wall. There were so many drawings on the wall. Like when I used to draw with crayons. And you'd put it on the fridge. We were all there in the drawings. You and me and Mom and Julie. But somebody screamed because the spider came down from